What up, what up, what up, sports fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I'm with my guys, the four horsemen of YouTube, baby. I got my guy Zion Zenith, Adam Costas, NYG Jeffy T. This is the Premium Takes Podcast. Let's go! Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. How y'all doing today, man? There's a lot going on in the world of sports. How you guys feeling today, man?
Absolutely great. Thank you guys all for joining us today on another Sunday of Premium Takes. Our apologies for not having a last week's episode, but you have two episodes. You have one right here on Friday. I'm sorry, one right here on Sunday, and then we do have Friday where we'll be previewing the WrestleMania. What number is it? 39, if I'm
Yes.
correct. But hopefully your guys' week been great, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Premium Takes. Let's get it.
Appreciate all you guys coming
Well,
by here
well,
too.
well,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
I think we're gonna get this thing started off a little bit, man. Look, today I want to start off with a little bit of the NCAA tournament, man. We got to talk a little March Madness, kick this thing off, man. We had two great Elite Eight games today, man. Two great ones today in the Elite Eight, man. Going right, both of them going right down to the wire, man. And the Final Four is now all set. This tournament has been absolutely epic thus far, man. It's been a great tournament, compelling, lots of compelling games. No number one seeds in the Final Four this year. The highest seed in the Final Four is number four, UConn, coming out of the West region, I believe. The UConn Huskies, the top seed in the Final Four, and they are only a four seed. You got two number fives in Miami and San Diego State, and then you got the Cinderella story, the number nine Florida Atlantic, coming out of the East, I believe, East region, I believe. The Florida Atlantic came out of. It's just been actually absolutely sensational. It's been fun to watch. I think any one of these four teams can legitimately win this national title just based off of their performance throughout this tournament thus far. I wouldn't be shocked at with any of these teams coming out the winner. But right now, I guess we gotta say UConn may have the slight edge coming out the Big East. The big powerhouse conference. And they got the experience. They got that little bit of extra seasoning on them. You know what I mean? UConn is the only team out of these Final Four teams that has been to a. They've been to plenty of Final Fours and they won a few titles on it. Miami, FAU, San Diego State. They've never been to a Final Four, man. This tournament also, as you see in the banner up here, the caption up here, none of the number one seeds even made it to the Elite Eight. That is the first time in the history of the NCAA tournament
Wow.
that no number one seed even made it to the Elite Eight. They were all gone by the end of the Sweet 16. And then now, like I said, the first time in 12 years since no number one seed has been in the Final Four, man. This tournament, like I said, absolutely awesome. It's the epitome of why I love it. It's the reason I love it. It's the reason it's my favorite sporting event every year. The thing I look most forward to in sports is March Madness, the NCAA tournament, because you'll never get parity like you get in this tournament each and every year, man. Guys, any thoughts on the tournament, man?
I love it. I like to just go ahead and just use my time here to even. So I haven't been really following the tournament, so my knowledge ain't the best on it. But for you guys has been following the tournament, I'm gonna ask Mac and Jeff and Adam. You guys are more than welcome to answer. What I got from that is like you said right there on the screen. No number one seed makes it, and there seems to be a lot of underdogs. Now, from that group of underdogs, Mac, is there any team that you yourself want to see win the tournament in a whole?
Well, I mean, since I don't have a dog in the race anyway, I personally, I'm an upset guy. I love the underdog. I love the underdog story, man. And right now, the biggest underdog left is Florida Atlantic, and I would love this next Monday night to see them cut down the Nets. You know what I mean? Over, I think it's in Houston, I believe, maybe is where the Final Four is. I would love to see them cutting down the Nets, man. Just why it'd be cool as shit to see number nine see win it all. I ain't never seen that happen ever. Not to see that low, not actually win. I've seen a couple like advance and make it there, but never actually win. So I would love to see FAU get the job done. But at the end of the day, none of these teams are really favored to be in the spot they're in right now. So honestly, it's just up for grabs, and I'm just looking excited for some great game, couple great games next Saturday night, and a great national championship game next Monday, man.
I just think it's kind of crazy that there's this. I don't think I've seen an NCAA tournament with this much diversity going on, where you just have not even a number one, not number two, and not even a number three seed make it to the Final Four. I don't remember any time during an NCAA tournament that's ever happened. And at this point, who's to say like a Florida Atlantic University doesn't go out there and win the NCAA tournament at this point? I mean, it's literally been upset city this entire tournament throughout. Who's to say an FAU can't go out there and win this tournament at this point? I mean, UConn might look
Yeah,
like the
they've
heavy
been playing some
favorite.
really good basketball.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, why can't FAU win it? Why can't Miami win it? I mean, as their big, I don't think I remember. I know you're the biggest proponent when it comes to the NCAA tournament, Matt. Do you remember an NCAA tournament as open, wide open as this? And does this have a lot to do with the one seeds not being as
Great
strong, or
question.
with it being more parity in the entire NCAA tournament? Like, that's the question. Is the one seeds this week, or is the entire tournament of 64 just that much stronger as a whole? I'm just curious how you feel, Mac.
No, I just think it's not just the one seeds a week. The one seeds this year, they were deserving of those top spots in each region. I agree with all four of the one seeds. They belonged where they belonged on that one line. However, it just this is why they call it March Madness, man. In these smaller schools, they don't get these opportunities on national TV very often. So they're coming in, they're hungry, and they go for it. They're going to give you their best shot, and they're not backing down. We saw what St. Peter's did a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
What St. Peter and other schools, they want to be the next St. Peter's. They want to go on those magical runs. And this year, FAU, they're not quite as low a seed as like St. Peter's was last year, but they're still a Cinderella. So they were a 9 seed. 9 is the lower half of the bracket technically, and they still got through their region, man. That East region, they went out there and they balled out and they cut down the nets in the East region. They earned it, absolutely earned it. So I think it's also the fact that some of these smaller schools also they're a little more experienced than these big schools. You know, for what it's worth, the big schools might have the better raw talent, but they're like freshmen, sophomores. Where these smaller schools, their players are there for 4 years. Their
Mm-hmm.
guys are there for 4 years. They got seniors on those teams, guys that are experienced. They might not necessarily be the better athletes or better or just better basketball players in general, but they're experienced, and that sometimes that can matter in tournament settings as well, man. Like I said, they get their opportunities and make the most of them. We had Princeton go to the Sweet 16 in this tournament, a 15 seed, and they advanced to the Sweet 16, and they lost a tough one against Creighton. It wasn't like they didn't go out there and get blown out on Friday night. They went out there and they went out swinging, and it took Creighton got them when it was all said and done, but. That's what makes this tournament beautiful, man. Just so pure, man. These guys go out there and you get the winner is truly the team that earned it. They are truly the national champion. They weren't just put in a spot. They had to earn it. You got to go out there. You got to get it done, man. And these teams, man, like I said, these four teams. This is the most interesting Final Four I've seen in some years, and I'll be happy. I'm happy with any of them winning, honestly, because none of them, honestly, were probably big, heavy favorites to be in this spot at all.
It's
I
like a
mean, I'm sure
revival
you
of
have people
UConn.
UConn in there. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got people with UConn in their Final Four. I'm sure you might have people with Miami in their Final Four, but I'm pretty sure you didn't have too many people with FAU or San Diego State in their Final Four. I'm sorry. You just show me those brackets of the people who had FAU and San Diego State in their Final Fours. I would like to see those brackets. You know what I mean?
Outside of
San
the
Diego State was
alums
a
that go
5 seed.
there,
It's
right?
not like
Yeah.
it's not like they were weak or they're a bad team, but they were a 5 seed. But I'm still, they don't have that kind of a reputation, and I'm sure not too many people expected to see them advancing to the Final Four. But this has
Watch
just
that be
been
your
great. Like I said, this
championship game
tournament
too.
has been great.
Watch that be your championship game.
But
FAU versus San Diego State. If you had that one, my God. If you had that as your
no,
championship
you
game.
definitely nobody's definitely didn't have that. But FAU actually is playing San Diego State next Saturday in the
Okay.
Final Four game, so they can't both go to the national championship game. One of them's losing next Saturday night.
I'm going with FAU
But
and
at the same
Miami.
time, it
I'll try
also
to
ensures
alarm
that
in the
one of
time
them is going to be
travelers.
in the national championship game.
Yeah. That is insane. And UConn's been down for
That's a good one, no
years.
mess.
Yeah. UConn's been
Absolutely,
down for
UConn
years
is.
too.
I mean, UConn was able to take advantage of a very weak Villanova team this year in the Big East, man, and get back to the top of that mountain a little bit. They didn't win the Big East, but at the same time, with a school like
It
Villanova
doesn't
falling
matter
off the way
now.
they did this year, it opened up some doors.
Exactly.
It
Hell of a
doesn't
job by
matter now.
Danny Hurley over there with UConn. Pretty much reviving that program after the Jim Calhoun era.
Well, UConn's,
Absolutely.
like we said, we were talking about it before. Max said it best. People know certain teams, they probably didn't have this play out, right? You don't always think about these teams. I mean, UConn, you do. UConn's been an organization in college that's been a very big powerhouse, both the girls and men's teams. Not as much with the men's recently, but they do have a good program, right? Miami, whether you like them or not, the name Miami, the U. They're a big time school. The other two schools, like this guy says, I'm sure San Diego State alumni or student fan base have these guys in the Final Four, right? Somebody, but I don't think they had all these teams, and so I just think it's kind of interesting to see how this is played out. One, how it's played out, but two, the emotion that these fan bases follow, right? Because you don't have, we were talking about like the NBA playoffs is 7 games. You don't have that, right? So you can't have these teams like Florida Atlantic. They played a great game against the team that they beat to advance, right? So if they have to play them again 3 more times, do they win? Maybe not, but they got their one shot. So I think the NCAA tournament's a great atmosphere, environment, and this is what makes it so great to watch March Madness.
The women's
Absolutely,
tournament's
man. Like I
probably been
said,
very good
it's
too.
it's just so compelling, man. This tournament is just like I said, especially this, like I said, this year in particular. This tournament's just been great, man. So much great basketball has been played over the course of the last couple of weeks by these young men out here laying it all on the line, man. And this is the Final Four we get, man. UConn, FAU, Florida Atlantic. It just sounds FAU in the Final Four, man. That is just nuts, man, to think about. But San
FAU
Diego
national
State and the
champions.
University of Miami. And it's a possibility. They got a legitimate shot. They knock off San Diego
I'm
State
giving them a shot. I
on
think
Saturday.
every one of those teams got a shot.
Listen, they're playing. They made it to the dance. You're here. You got to believe that you can take it. There's no time to be happy about being here. Go win it. And that should be their mindset. And hopefully, maybe the San Diego State team takes them a little lightly, but they are also a team that doesn't normally get this far in the NCAA tournament. I think it'll be a good contest to watch next week.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's going to be some fun basketball. The fact that no matter what, for sure, next Monday night, either FAU or San Diego State will be playing. One of those schools will be playing in the national championship game next week. That's because they play each other on Saturday night. One of them's got to win, one of them's got to lose. So you're going to see one of those schools in the national title game next Monday night. That's
I don't think anybody's opposed to the opponents, right? It's not like, hey, UConn versus Florida Atlantic's not going to be a good game. UConn versus San Diego State's not going to be good. These teams are so kind of evenly matched that I think it will compel you to watch, even though it may not be a school you've heard of, normally that gets there.
What's the lowest seed to ever win a national championship? Was it a 4?
No, I feel like years ago, Villanova won a national championship, and they were like, I'm talking about back in the 80s. They knocked off Georgetown, I believe. I think, and that was like
See.
they were a pretty low
You're right.
seed, if I'm not
You're
mistaken.
right.
Yep.
Number
1985
eight,
Villanova
1980.
Wildcats.
Yep. There you go, Mac.
Max.
Your boys,
Great
the,
job,
the
man.
Nova Wildcats. The year I was
I
born.
mean,
Well,
look,
This is
well,
when they
well
won.
little
done, my friend. Well
something.
done.
Well,
Well done.
that's-
But you know what's interesting is
A
like
little
what
something
Jeff
about
said.
Villanova
Like the
basketball.
1, 2, and 3 seeds aren't even in here. Like we're not talking about like 1 seed and a bunch of 5s and 9. Different seeds. We're talking about the top 3 seeds from each bracket did not make the Final Four. That's kind of
The-
crazy.
Basically, that's like the top 12 teams. The top 12 teams seeded in this tournament. None of them made it to the Final Four. The top
and we had
12
another 16 go
seeded
down
teams,
to a
so
1. Another
impressive.
16 goes down to a 1. Fairleigh Dickinson takes out Purdue. That's insane, too.
yeah, in the first round. That was on Friday in the first round last week. I mean, just this tournament has been something special, man. But we can get ready to segue and wrap this up because we got other things to move on to. And I think we're going to get right into it, fellas. We're just going to get right into the NFL free agency frenzy that has been going on in the NFL. Trades, just all kinds of signings, all kinds of other rumors about players going other places, man. Let's start off. I'm gonna throw something out there at you guys, man. How about this thing with Zeke Elliott, man? His few teams he's got it narrowed down to the Jets, the Eagles, and who was it? Cincinnati or something like that. Who was it?
Yes.
Who else was
Yes.
it? I
Well,
can't remember.
My question
Cincinnati.
is, are
It
those
was
3
Cincinnati?
teams narrowing him down? Like, are those 3 teams looking at Zeke Elliott the same way that Zeke Elliott seems to be looking at these teams? Because that's the rumor that I'm hearing. It's not, hey, these 3 teams are really interested. It's those are the teams that he thinks that he'd be a best fit at. Now, will they bring him in? I don't know. I mean, how much tread did the guy have on the tire? We'll see. I think he had a solid season last year. I think he'll be a good complementary back to a team that needs a 2-back attack, right? Like I'm not saying the Giants would bring him in here, but if you were a team like the Giants and you didn't have Barkley, and you had like Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell and a few other scrubs, I would say, yeah, why don't you dive into the Zeke Elliott backfield? But again, he's already gotten paid, so he's not going to get a big payday. He's on the downside of his career, or at least that's what they're going to say. So he's in a tough spot.
Oh,
I think it
Zeke.
depends a little bit on what he wants, though. I think it depends a
If
little
I
bit
was
what he's
Zeke.
looking for himself also. Because you got the Jets and the Bengals, where there's no way Zeke's just a depth piece there. He's just a depth piece there for sure. The Eagles
going
seem
to
to
the Jets.
legitimately have a chance to be a starting running back again. Honestly, that's what he's kind of wanting to do, looking to do. Still prove he can still be the guy. He has a better chance in Philly, honestly, of actually winning the starting job, being the number 1 running back. Whereas with the Jets, without Cincinnati, he's definitely not beating out Joe Mixon. He's definitely not beating out the young guy on the damn Jets. I can't
Well, the
remember his
Bengals,
name, man.
Brees Hall and
Brees Hall.
Michael Carter.
But yeah, Brees Hall. Yeah, he's not beating. He's not winning the number 1 job there either. I mean, he actually would have a chance to be number 1 running back in Philly as things stand right now with their depth chart
Well-
running backs. I mean, it just is. It's kind of depends what he's looking for himself as well. So
Yes,
you might want to
I
just get some
that.
get back at the Dallas Cowboys for not believing in them.
Yeah.
Like
That's
maybe
why,
just
like,
say,
probably
I'm gonna stay in this division, and now y'all got to deal with me 2 games a season.
The Eagles would
I don't
probably
want to see
be the
that. I'd just
best
rather
fit.
him go ahead about his business.
Yeah.
Well, I
So,
mean, I think
I heard
you
that.
have to look at a team like Buffalo Bills. They should be calling up Zeke Elliott because they're a team that could use a guy who's a bell cow every once in a while to hand the ball off and go. The fact that they're not, we don't know if they're interested. Again, these are teams that he thinks that he's a fit for. It's not like the Jets have said, hey, let's inquire about Zeke Elliott. The Bengals, I think that would be another good move because he could be a secondary back. He wouldn't have to be
Hey,
the
Chad.
starter. He could be Joe Mixon's backup.
all right, so if I was Zeke, like the Eagles will probably be the best fit for him because, like what Mac was saying, you can be the obviously the starting running back on that team. I don't know what they're doing about Miles Sanders, but that being said, I mean, like are you opposed of going to like someone like I know the XFL is in full swing right now, but someone like the USFL? Like, hear me out. You go to the USFL, you show these teams that you still have it, right? And obviously it's against lesser competition. But the thing is, it's like if you're the Jets, if you're the Eagles, if you're the Bengals, like, do you even need Zeke at this point? I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards Zeke. We just talked about it 2 weeks ago about the NFL being the way they feel about running backs. And as a guy of Zeke's stature, with the numbers that he did put up, and he was Dallas's back before Pollard got some snaps and showed that he can be the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't you want to show more than 3 teams that you're capable of still carrying the load? You know what I'm saying? And still being that main back, because teams are looking at you like, okay, we have a back and you can come and carry some of the load. Whereas Zeke, I think in his mind, he wants to be that main back. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think if he goes to the Eagles doesn't want the main back system. They're running back by committee. I don't even think he becomes the main back in Philadelphia. The only reason why he would go to Philadelphia is like what Max said, to get revenge on the Cowboys. So if I was Zeke's agent, if I was advising Zeke, I mean, like, the NFL is great, is the premier league. Don't get me wrong, but you can go break the bank with the USFL and arguably become the best player signing in day one. You know what I'm saying? And still make football season. That's what he wants to do.
I mean,
Well, I mean, what I'm saying with him with the Eagles. Go ahead, Jeff. Finish. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead, Mac.
Go ahead. Now, I was just saying with him with the Eagles, my thing is that's out of those 3 choices, if those are his 3 choices of teams that he want to go to, I don't know what kind of contact he's had with them. Like Adam said, I don't know if these teams are as interested in him as he is in them. Who knows? I have no idea. I don't care about Ezekiel Elliott and his future. As long as I know he's not going to be a New York Giant, and that's all that matters to me, as far as I'm concerned. But
Facts.
No,
if he
Nowhere near our locker room.
if he goes to the Eagles, you know what I mean. That's his best chance of being number 1 on the depth chart. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he has a better chance.
That's
being
true.
number 1
And
on their
for
depth
me,
chart than
I agree. That's
either
his
one of
best
the other
fit.
2 teams.
I actually disagree. I think his best chance is going to be number 1 is in Cincinnati, because I think Cincinnati is going to be getting rid of Joe Mixon. It's just not sounding good, the relationship over there with Cincinnati between Mixon and the Bengals, because he's looking for another payday, and it sounds like that they wanted to take a pay cut, and he's not willing to do it. So there's been a lot of rumors about Mixon potentially getting cut, and if he wants to be a bell cow guy, the Bengals will be that team, because remember, the Eagles got Kenneth Gainwell, who they want to try to get a better look at him after drafting him out of Memphis a couple of years ago, and they got Boston Scott back. So I think that Cincinnati's got a wide open running back field when it looks like Mixon's probably not going to be there. While the Jets, they brought back Ty Johnson, and they re-signed Zonovan Knight. They still have Michael Carter on that team, and then of course you got Breece Hall. So the Jets would make the least amount of sense unless they think that Zeke would still have something left in the tank as like a bruising running back up the middle to complement what they're doing with Breece Hall. I think it doesn't make sense, but I think out of all the teams, the Bengals might actually make the most sense because of the situation going on with Joe Mixon. I don't know if Joe Mixon's going to be on this team by the time we get to the NFL draft, because that's when we start seeing players get traded or even players get cut around that time. And maybe they look at a guy like Zeke Elliott to be a complimentary guy, because they lost P. Ryan too. I believe P. Ryan went to, I think, Washington or something, because he left the team at this offseason. So they're looking for a pretty much a starting running back. So
And
we'll
what's
see.
going on at Buffalo and their situation? Are they just looking at?
I think they want to give it to Cook. I think they want to let
They're
Cook
gonna
get
give
an
it to Cook?
opportunity. They want to
Okay,
get James
makes
Cook
sense.
an opportunity to
That's
really.
the guy they drafted last season, so might as well
Yeah.
give him the shed load. Yeah, makes sense.
Mm.
Okay.
By the way, happy
Cincinnati.
birthday to you, Chad. And if that's true about what you're saying, Jacoby, then I'm excited for tomorrow night. And just so you guys know, like Zion said it earlier in the show, we are going to be doing a WrestleMania preview show at 10:30 on Friday night, or 10:15 on Friday night. So just be on the lookout for that, guys.
We'll be breaking every match down. Every match on both nights, we'll be just giving our in-depth take previews, how we feel the matches are going to go down, just breaking them all down. Totally all about WrestleMania 39, Friday night special, premium takes edition.
Absolutely.
So we did. I don't know if Adam wanted to say anything on the Zeke thing, but we did have a lot of sign-ins to the New York Giants in the past two weeks that we haven't been haven't been on. And is there any signing that really stood out to you guys that really got you guys excited? Because I know that we have Darren Waller now, and he brings a big opportunities for this offense. But the signing that, obviously, don't get me wrong, that was a trade. The signing that got me the most excited about is Bobby, man. I just love this kid's spirit, and I just think he's on, every year he's elevating. He had over 100 tackles last year, over 100 tackles the year before that. And I just think our position and that middle of the field, we needed someone with his caliber of tackling, with his caliber of play. He could drop back in coverage, but also he can play the one. He's just a good fit he kind of reminds me of when we went out there and we grabbed Blake Martinez. And he's, as much as some of us wanted Tremaine Edmonds, I just think that Bobby O was the second, if not the third best middle linebacker out there. You know what I'm saying? And some would even say best due to the age and his what his ceiling can be here. He's in his prime, and I just think that Wink Martindale and our defense is just gonna have a lot of fun with him. And that signing actually stood out to me as like, oh man, we went out there and we went out there on day one, attack free agency big. And I know there's been talks about us, about acquiring a trade for Hopkins and obviously there's the OBJ talks and stuff. But I think the two receivers like Paris Campbell and Crowder, great signings to the New York Giants. I know Adam was just talking about Paris Campbell. I think he was the first one to say that he wants him here at the Giants, and great pickup from them. And I can just see us building an offense around Daniel Jones, and we're not done yet. So I'm really excited on how free agency been. We've been in the mix, and just, man, Joe Shane and what he's been doing, man, like, just keep on running it. You know what I'm saying? And I know we all had optimism and we all broke down the contract, but obviously it's just videos, so videos can lie. But Daniel Jones seems locked in, man. Daniel Jones seems locked in. The guy's paid, and let's go out there and let's have ourselves a good season. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on all the sign-ins, if there's any sign-ins that kind of stood out to you that the New York Giants acquired.
Well, I mean, the one signing that, and I'm glad that you brought up that one name, and Adam was one of the biggest proponents of this dude. I love the Paris Campbell signing because he's a guy that he had 3 years of injury. That's the one reason why he wasn't able to showcase his type of playmaking ability, because he got hurt 3 years in a row with Indianapolis. But in that fourth year, when he finally was able to play around 16, 17 games, you got to see the type of talent that this kid has. And now you're only bringing him in for a 1 year, about a $6 million deal. And he gets to have the opportunity, 6 foot, over 200-pound wide receiver, sub 4.4 speed. You can move him all around the offense. You can split him out wide, put him on the slot. He's pretty much a guy that has good yards after catch ability as well. He could be an explosive playmaker in this offense, and it's pretty much a low risk, high reward deal. I like the Crowder deal more, but I think the main reason they brought in Crowder is for multiple reasons. I believe because of the fact he has some ability to be a returner. So I think that's one of the reasons why they did bring him in. Also another low risk, high reward deal. And also the fact we don't know the injury news when it's going on with Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard. It seems like both of them might start the season on IR, so you can insert somebody like Crowder right into that wide receiver mix. I even like the Jeff Smith signing because that's another guy you could throw out there as a good special teams player. So I like the wide receiver signings. I'm even a big fan of that cornerback that we got, Amani Oruwariye. I think he could be an underrated signing as well because he has played pretty well. I believe he has 6 interceptions in his first few years with Detroit. He had a down year last year, but he is only 27 years old. He does have that Wink Martindale type size you want to have at the outside cornerback position, 6'2", 200-plus pounds, and he is pretty solid against press coverage. So, maybe Wink Martindale can work some magic with this kid. And also, you're pretty much putting this kid with arguably the best defensive backs coach in the NFL in Jerome Henderson. So maybe he could unlock some of this kid's potential out there. And obviously, Saquon Barkley because they used to be teammates with Penn State about 4 or 5 years ago. So I like the Oruwariye signing. I'm a big fan of the Paris Campbell signing. I think Crowder could be an underrated signing as well. And then even the kid Tommy Sweeney we got. I like that signing too.
I'm not going to wax poetic about everybody because Tom Sweeney is another guy. He's a jag, as they call him. He's just another guy. He's a blocking tight end. So we'll see what he does. I don't know if he takes a spot or not. We'll see. I think that's that third, maybe fourth
I
spot
don't know. I
goes to a
seriously doubt
rookie.
it. I seriously
Yes,
doubt it.
I think he's going. Mac and I agree. I don't think
He's a
this
camp
guy is brought
body.
in as a
He's a
camp
camp
body.
body.
Thank you. I'm not saying don't be optimistic about this player. I'm just saying, to me, there are certain
I think
guys.
he's camp
He
body
could always
too.
come in and impress and make the roster, but
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think so. I think
Well, he
because
yeah,
you got
I'm just saying
Darren,
he is a camp body.
you got
that makes
Waller on the team, you have Bellinger
Bellinger.
on the team, you have Lawrence
Bellinger,
Cager,
those
I'm
are
sure.
guaranteed spots right there.
That's one
Those
too.
are two
Right.
guaranteed types of ends right there.
And so
Guaranteed.
then you're fighting with Lawrence Cager and possibly a draft pick if they bring in a draft pick, right? Which we do.
And actually, I think somewhat
that-
Cage deserves, obviously to see how he comes back in camp. We'll tackle that
Not
when
to
that
mention,
gets
where's
there.
the
But
dude,
Cage, man,
dude
he's
Myriad,
been
gonna be
whatever
on
his
the
name
team.
is. He's still on the roster too, isn't he?
yeah.
Nick Van Ett.
So I mean,
Well, I mean, they also have that Andre Miller guy as a tight end. So there's a lot of prospects that are going to be coming in. I think it's good that this guy had veteran experience. I think you need a veteran tight end, a blocking tight end. I think that's what's missing. Real, true, like his job is blocking. Don't worry about anything else. Type of tight end. I think that will help out in the run game. The Paris Campbell thing. Thank you guys for acknowledging that. I don't want to sound like Roman Reigns or anything like that, but I noticed Paris Campbell in November and December, and I remember having a conversation. I think it was with Buko, my friend. If y'all don't know who he is, just a friend of mine. And I go, "Yo, man, what about this Paris Campbell?" And he's like, "He's going to be a free agent." I'm like, interesting. So the brain started churning. It looked up Paris Campbell. I'm like, "Yo, this guy is 6 foot, 200 pounds. He runs everything that you need. He can blow the top off of defense. He's going to be what Kadarius Toney was going to be to this offense if Kadarius Toney was not injured. He's going to run those patterns. He's got the running back type ability more so than Wandale Robinson. Don't get me wrong. Wandale Robinson is going to do gadget plays as well, but I would focus him more on the slot. Let him do the little Wes Welker type routes.
He's got size too, Adam. He's bigger receiver than those guys.
Right. And Paris Campbell's a little bit, he's built like Kadarius Toney, who was 5'11", 6 foot, 200 pounds. And what did they like to do? They like to run the jet sweeps. They like to run them deep. Well, the good thing about Paris Campbell that Kadarius Toney didn't have is he has an extra afterburner that Kadarius Toney didn't have. He can stretch the defense. So I look for him. He had a solid year last year with a crappy quarterback on a crappy team, with him being the number 2 or number 3 option behind Mike Evans. I mean, not Mike Evans, excuse me, the Pittman kid, right? And so for me, I think what's the worst that can happen with this guy? You bring him in, he does well, good. He's part of your receiving core. He doesn't, you don't lose any sleep. But I think it's one of those moves that I'm more excited than Richie James because this guy was drafted in the second round. He comes from a big school in Ohio State. He has big game experience. It's not like he hasn't produced. He's been injured. So that's been his main proponent. So let's see if he can be healthy. He played a full 17. Again, ifs and buts or candies nuts every day be Christmas. But it seems like the injured guys haven't gotten injured. So we'll see. Like Darren Waller. I like the Waller trade, but let's be honest. He's not going to be here long term, and he's an injury-prone guy. So I worry about him a little bit. As for a few of the other signings, I'm excited, but, I'm just seeing that we need a 90-man roster filled out. I'm not going to get excited for every signing, really, except for, like, the draft picks. Those kind of guys that they scout, the guys they bring in as UDFAs. Why am I more excited about a UDFA than some random scrub that they brought in from the street? Because UDFA means they've scouted him, means they've done a lot more homework, means they've really reached out to that player to try to bring him on. And I want to see those guys excel because those are the guys that are going to be the core of your team eventually, right? So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited about the middle linebacker position. I wonder what they're going to do in the draft. If that kid from Clemson's down the second round, they're probably going to gobble that kid up, right? And let him learn behind Jared Davis. And then you have the kid from Clemson and Okereke next to each other. I think you would have a good tandem for the next few years going forward. The guy that I think is most underrated signing is Roches Nunez, right?
I'm glad you brought him up, yeah.
Because
I like his
first
energy.
Belizean-born NFL player.
He has a motor. I mean, he's not going to get you 100 tackles a year. He's probably going to get you about 25 tackles a year, maybe a sack or two. But he's not going to be like Jelly Ellis, who did nothing on the field. He's going to give you a little bit of push and pop for those things. And I think the Giants are facing a lot of good offenses next year. You know, the Bills, the Jets, the Miami Dolphins. You know, a lot of these teams have, not to mention the teams in our own division, right? And we couldn't stop the run, nosebleeds for stopping the run last year. So this guy's going to help with that, and we'll see what it leads to. But I've gone on enough. You guys can take it over.
How do you guys feel about the Bobby McCain signing? He has similar numbers to.
I like the. I mean, hold on. Let me get my point out right quick. Let me get a point across right quick about Nacho.
Absolutely.
About Nacho. Nacho is a great,
Nacho!
great signing. Great depth piece. You know, adding him to the roster. First Belizean-born NFL player. Just shout out Belize. I got family down there. I had to shout out Belize right quick. But Nacho, man, he's a great personality, man. He's a great gun. Obviously, clearly, this guy's gonna be a great locker room guy. He came up to the facility. Came in with his family, his wife, his kids. You know what I mean? This dude is all about that life, man. You can tell his energy is just great energy. The aura around him, he's not going to be some superstar player, but he's going to play his role, like Adam said, man. He's not all that running straight up the middle on his shit no more. That ain't popping off so easily now. This is gonna be a guy that can legitimately give Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams the rest they need. Get a good rotation going, and keep these guys as fresh as possible. And all that running people were doing on the Giants this year, I don't think it's going to be so simple. Also, that Bobby Okereke signing, that's my favorite signing because I'm tired of the mediocre linebacker play in New York that we've been getting.
I wish he was wearing
other than
number 58.
that 1 year with Blake Martinez. Other than the 1 year with Blake Martinez, I think this guy, honestly, I think Bobby Okereke has a chance to legitimately be the next truly great New York Giant linebacker, man. This dude, I'm all about this sign. I mean, he was all over the field all season. And I mean, even when they played us, this guy had like 17 tackles against us in that game.
I said that guy is the only guy that came to play out of that defense. 19 tackles he had or some shit.
He was out there balling. He was balling.
Let's hope like it was. I like the signing. I think he's going to change the defense. The thing I want to know, and I don't mean to take over, is just can he blitz? Because that's the main reason that we need our middle linebacker. They don't necessarily. The thing about Blake Martinez that people didn't know is he was a good blitzer. That's why he fit that defense of Patrick Graham so well. The problem here is we needed Blake Martinez last year. They decided to move on from him last year. Clearly, if we had Blake Martinez and he was still under contract, we may be saying, hey, we just need a pair guy up next to Blake, because Blake is a solid linebacker. Like, I don't want to put a slouch on him. He had 150 tackles.
Absolutely. That's what I said. Other than the 1 year with him, that first year, the first year we signed him, it was a great year for him, and then he got injured the next year, obviously. And we know about last year.
And then obviously now, right. At least but I was he was an exciting signing for me the last time, right? When he got signed, I was like, wow, we got a guy who was legitimately, had a reputation around the league. He wasn't a bum. I shouldn't say bum, but he wasn't a scrub. Like, I like Jared Davis. I was excited we got him, but he's not lived up to the potential that we thought he was going to live up to, right?
And I think too, I think Bobby McCain is an underrated signing too that we picked up in the secondary.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up his
Julian
name.
Love. He's been an underrated signing too. That kid actually had a pretty good season. He had a solid season last year for the Washington Commanders, transitioning from slot cornerback to safety. So there's your Julian Love replacement, and he brings a veteran leadership to an otherwise very young safety position now. But you got Pinnock, who is still a young player. You got Belton. You got McKinney, who's still younger. Now you bring in a veteran like McCain, he's pretty much your jack of all trades player.
And I'm comfortable, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's
you guys comfortable with him just taking that spot and filling that spot in? You know what I'm saying?
I think
we have the defense supporting cast.
I think they're going to move in with Pinnock and Belton, because Pinnock got a lot of burn last year between the safety positions when every guy was injured, from Belton to McKinney. Playing with Love. Remember, they played three safeties a lot, so Pinnock got to be part of that. And I kind of liked him from what I heard from the Jets. They really liked him too.
Yeah, they didn't
and
want
he
to
fits
lose
the
him.
role. right? And so when you fit a role and you have a guy like Julian Love who does everything that Pinnock does, let's be honest, Julian Love and Pinnock are interchangeable players. They're the same kind of guy. They're
Hey,
not.
Raphael.
They're having the same role in defense. Now McKinney is different because McKinney is more of a, I would call him more of a free safety, but he covers up all the garbage. Now with Pinnock, you can do a lot. You can do a lot of things, right? But you also have Belton there. So what allowed, and they have a guy on the roster named Terrell Burgess who has come from the Rams,
Yes.
and
yes.
plays for the Rams team, right? Not necessarily saying he's going to be a good guy or anything like that, but he does have some experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if that guy came in and when they're evaluating, they said, listen, Burgess can do some of the similar things that Love can do. Let's not worry about it. We have guys that can fill this role, right? Because to me, I think they have plenty of guys. Now, the McCain signing, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the number 2 corner on the team because he does play cornerback for this team. It would make an easy transition for him to be kind of the groom, right? Because we don't know what Aaron Robinson is going to be. Let's be honest, right? He has his first season as a starter, he was up and down. His rookie year, he was kind of up and down. And then last year, he blows out his knee, which actually, they don't even know. First, it was a sprained knee. Now it was a torn ACL or something like that. So you got him to worry about. Darnay Holmes, who I like, is a very spirited player, not a very good player, but gives you a good yeoman's work every year. He can be replaced. So I think the veteran depth is good. I still would have rather have kept Love. Like you said, a jack of all trades. I think his best position was slot corner, to be honest with you. But, that's the business of the NFL.
And I actually kind of like the fact that I like some of the players they re-signed too. I like the fact they brought back Slayton on a pretty reasonable deal. Well, I mean, if you're going to bring back Daniel Jones, his quarterback is always going to want his favorite playmakers there. That's why Barkley's back. That's why Shepard's back. That's why Slayton's back. They're good locker room guys, and they're the most familiarity with our quarterback. So, and you pretty much got them for pennies. You got them for nothing. And then, I like the Jahide Ward re-signing too. Another guy that's a good run stopper at the outside linebacker position, and he's a good rotational piece and a veteran for young guys like Ojulari and for Thibodeau. So I like those types of signings too, and I think the wide receiver position is going to be one of the most interesting camp battles this entire year because no receiver is signed after this year except for 2.
Well, it's funny you said bring that up because that's what I was just getting ready to bring up. The thing about this all season so far with Joe Shane and what he's done that I like a lot is he's created amazing competition for training camp. When we get into these OTAs, training camps, these off-season workouts, he's created tremendous competition. He's got now talking about playmakers. Yeah, sure, we still don't necessarily have all-world guys, all-pro guys, but we got, I think, better guys than we had a year ago. And now you're going to have these guys come to camp, training camp. You can get them battle it out and make the best, especially with the wide receivers, specifically with the wide receivers position. Let these guys battle it out and make the best 5 or 6 guys win. And let's go. And it's just gonna create just a great competition in the summer for the New York Giants. And we're gonna get some dogs out there, man. I don't think we're gonna have some of the same issues we had a year ago with that position, man. We're gonna have some guys out there making plays on this football team for this and the offensive line can get in check. The center position is obviously key. We got to figure something out there. And interior line, period, I feel like still needs some serious addressing. But at the end of the day, that old line can gel, get another year under their belt, get a little better. These wide receivers, man, these playmakers, I think Darren Waller is a game changer. I think people are going to realize that we're here to play. We're here, and we're serious, man, this year because the New York Giants, man, with Darren Waller at tight end, that changes the game, man. This guy has to be so respected. What that does, he's a matchup nightmare for defenses. Yeah. It's just not going to be the same as going out there against the New York Giant offense and saying, well, we just got to worry about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Nah, it's no more of that. Nah, now you got guys that you have to worry about, guys that you have to account for on the outside as well. And I think that we can do some great things with a dual tight end set. You got Bellinger who can block, who's a tremendous blocker. You got Waller who can just go out there and make plays. I mean, he's not Travis Kelce, but he's still one of the absolute best tight ends when healthy in this league. And I mean,
You
it's
got
just
speed too.
things that, and then Bellinger has the ability. And yeah, he has that tremendous speed. He has wide receiver speed, and then Bellinger
Well,
has the ability to go out there, run out on routes and make plays and get clutch first downs for you when you need it too. So, I think this New York Giant offense next year is going to be exciting. Potentially, can be very, very exciting, and I can't wait to get to work, man.
I think what we need to look at is maybe Darren Waller is the number one option. And we can forget about worrying about a receiver in the first round because the number one option may not be a number one guy, right? It may not be a number one receiver because when you drop back, if Waller is your best skill player on the field, because even with a draft pick, I guarantee you that's what he'll be, he's going to be option one. So what that means is you can build your offense around it. So people sitting here saying, "Hey, we need a Jordan Addison or Jackson Enigma or all these guys." Think about it like this: let's say the Giants drafted center in the first round of 25, and then maybe an A.T. Perry or Cedric Tillman in the second round. Right? That guy doesn't have to come in and have be a bona fide one. He just has to be a good complementary piece because you have Waller right there. You're going to have Paris Campbell, who's going to be there, and you're going to do it by committee, so to speak. Yes. Do I want a draft pick? Do I want a big-time player? Yes. If Jalen Wyatt or Addison is there and you decide he's better than Schmidt, then by all means, go get him. But I think the Giants, if they were smart, would take the center over the wide receiver and say, listen, our number one guy is Waller. All right, we're going to do it by committee because we still have Isaiah Hodgins. We think he's going to be pretty good. We have Slayton over here who, while I don't really like him, and I think we could have done an upgrade, he still is a capable receiver. Okay. And then you have Paris Campbell as your third guy coming in. And then maybe Wan'Dale Robinson as well. So now you have guys on the field who can really feed off a guy like Darren Waller who opens the middle up. Right now the free safety can't be over the top on Paris Campbell. It means you're going to have to drop back, Daniel, and you're going to have to let your eyes let it rip because – you'll find out what kind of quarterback Daniel Jones is this season because of Darren Waller, okay? If he opens it up and you get your 4,000 yards, it'll be because he's dropping back, throwing dimes down the field, okay? Because we need him to do that. These guys aren't brought in here to turn around and do, dink and dunk screenplays. Yes, they have the speed to do that, and yes, you can do that, but you bring in a Waller to open up your field, not necessarily – because what I mean by that is let me explain. If he's getting double teamed and the safeties are coming down, you have one-on-one on the outside with a guy that runs a 4.3. If that guy can't win a friggin' foot race in a straight line, then we've got problems.
Just to answer your question, Earl, we're not sure. We have to wait and see where the team is at that point by the time we get to the end of the season, how healthy they are. And, I think our offense is being modeled exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. Kansas City Chiefs didn't really have a number one receiver last year. They pretty much went wide receiver by committee, and then they had the big-time tight end in Travis Kelce. And Kelce was so dynamic over the field, in the middle of the field, split out wide, that he was able to command so much attention, which opened it up for guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
And guess what they have on the outside, Jeff?
And that's
Tyreek Hill. He runs a 4.29. So all of a sudden you have Travis Kelce taking the safety. That's all that they would do. It's a pitch and catch. You're building the same kind of offense in Kansas City as you are here, just with lesser known players, right? I'm not saying Paris Campbell is Tyreek Hill. I don't want people to blow off the gasket like that. But he's got that type of breakaway ability where if you run it correctly, you do what – and I don't mean to cut you off, Jeff. You do what Kansas City does. Fine. You build that team around your tight end and let your receivers go up and get the ball.
And you got two guys you can throw on the outside, and both Slayton and Campbell that have 4.3 speed. You could have Waller command so much attention in the middle of the field. You could send two go routes on opposite sides, and you could just bomb the ball down the field. And Slayton has shown abilities to be able to beat coverage one-on-one. It's just you have to hope he holds on to the ball. And then Campbell's another deep threat. So you have that advantage right there. And what the Giants did this year compared to last year is they pretty much kept their best receivers overall, injuries or not, from last year, and they added on more speed and youth to this team. And Crowder could be an underrated playmaker on this team too. I mean, he's a guy that could be interchangeable in the offense as well, and he brings you something we haven't had in our offense that can help out at the beginning of our offensive drives, and that's special teams returning. Crowder can be an upgrade when it comes to that than Richie James. And he's a good slot guy too.
Crowder is an upgrade. He's an upgraded version of Richie James is what Crowder is. That's the exact
he
kind
is.
of player Crowder is. He's just but better. He's a better version of Richie James. And Richie James played admirably for the Giants last year, but he's Richie James. He is what he is. His skill set is limited when it comes down to it. I mean, he had a lot of big mistakes last year. I mean, big drops and big situations and things of that sort. So he's Richie. I mean, it is what it is. Crowder's upgraded that, and that's another thing that gets you excited about. Like I said, the camp competition this year, man, it's going to be a lot of guys disappointed, man, come to end when it gets to final cuts. And another thing different that's going to be different this year is last year when the New York Giants released their players, started cutting down their roster last year. People didn't even want those guys that we were getting rid of. Nobody was jumping in line to sign the New York Giant guys getting cut. People going to be waiting in line this year seeing who the New York Giants is parting ways with. That's the kind of situation we're going to be having this year. It's just going to be a whole different
that's a good situation to have.
Look, no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. I don't have a problem with Richie James either, man. Like I said, he played admirably, but it is what it is. When you got to critique a guy, you got to critique a guy. I mean, I think Jamison Crowder is basically Richie James, but better, a better version of he's like same style of player. He just does it a little bit better. I think, I mean, Jamison Crowder a couple years ago had a pretty strong season with the Jets a couple years ago.
But he sucked last year, right?
He got injured last year.
A little bit for me.
Right, but Richie James had a good year, so you're going to have to pay Richie James now. You're not going to have to pay James and Crowder the same amount, so we'll see.
You know what gets me so excited too? I've been wanting to talk for a while, but I was just building it all up because you guys are making such good points. I love the fact that Adam brought up that utilizing Waller as the main focus point of this offense. Exactly what they do in Kansas City, if you look about it. Exactly what they did in New England when they won all those Super Bowls. All right, and if you think about it, if you look at what we did, what makes me so excited, if you look at all these weapons we brought in, we really took our offense and we just made it 2 times better. Just including the weapons we just was pointing out to you guys. And not only that, we're not done yet. We're taking a receiver in the draft, whether it be the first round, whether it be the second round, whether it be the third round, we're going to take a receiver. We're also going to take a cornerback, and we're also going to take interior lineman. What makes this draft so exciting is all the positions that we need to fill is we kind of filled outside of the offensive line. We kind of filled in free agency. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need another middle linebacker, but what team doesn't? You know what I'm saying? All teams need multiple middle linebackers. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about it this way, we're going into the draft. It's so exciting being there at 25 because we might have a player say like Osiris Torrance that drops to us. We take them. We take them because the interior offensive lineman is not as deep this year, right? So if you have Osiris Torrance falling to us at 25, we take them on what Adam just said. We go back around and we take a Cedric Tillman. I don't want to rush on a wide receiver when we have someone like Darren Waller. Now, why do I think we would need a wide receiver? Is because Darren Waller ain't coming off of a 1,000-yard season. That's 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I don't want Giants fans to get this illusion that they're getting the Darren Waller that we've seen in 2020. Guess what, guys? We did that with Kenny Golladay. Did we get that Kenny Golladay? Absolutely not. So let me just tell you guys this. I love the excitement, Giants fans. I love hearing all of this. But we can't depend on Darren Waller to immediately come back and be that guy. But what Adam was saying, what we can depend on is we can depend on him coming back and immediately demanding attention. So teams can't stack the box against Berkeley. That now opens up the one game. And we have burners on the outside. So that demands attention. And that's why I think that Darren Waller is so great for the 3rd round pick. And then to top off his ceiling, if he does come back to that 2019, that 2020 Darren Waller, then we really have something cooking here. With Isaiah Hodgins, that's still young. All of our receivers on roster is under the age of 26. And Sterling Shepard, I don't count as a receiver. He's kind of like just a coach on roster. Sorry, Jeff. But you know what I'm saying? Even him, and he's fully healthy. You know, our receiving core is by committee, and we can kind of see the culture getting grown, the people that they're bringing in. And this is not the same Giants team from 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? The feeling is, dude, we're trying to build something, and we're not trying to just enter the playoffs and goof around like some other teams and not appear in the playoffs. No, We're trying to be mainstays in the playoffs. We're trying to build a roster and a culture here where people want to come. They want to play for the New York Giants. And what all these free agents said in their interviews, these players are having fun. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch it. It's been out for about 2 weeks now. Go watch that episode 1 of the recap, Giants fans. You can see Daniel Jones. You can see, Brian Daboll calling his players and having real a relationship with his players outside of the world of football. And that's what I think makes this team so great that they're building here. The culture of the New York Giants is building here. You see it in the videos of homie walking into the building, like Max said, with his family, seeing the excitement. See, even the audio clip saying, man, this is different. This is different because players are knowing when they're coming to a New York Giants. This is not like any other club. This club been around since 1926, and this is a 5-star organization. And now we have the people in here that can actually run it like a 5-star organization and not like a one-class Motel 6. I'm not trying to diss Motel 6, but actually run it like a high-end resort that it's supposed to be run by, not no Joe Judges of the world, the Ben McAdoo's of the world. I'm super excited. And that's why the New York Giants became my team after Michael Vick went to jail, And thank you that we're actually in a position where we're not done yet, guys. We're not done. Because guess what? We have a lot of draft picks, and it's going to be fun breaking it down when we take them. I'll let you guys continue.
It's pretty much just all these signings that we made, a lot of them, low risk, high reward. You saw what the coaching staff did with lesser talent last year. They turned that team into a 9-7-1 team, and they had them go all the way to the divisional round against a Philadelphia team that was just flat out more talented. So now they're just signing a bunch of these low-risk guys that have shown some promise or have been good in the past that are coming off injuries or haven't performed well in their previous locations. And now they're seeing if they can coach them up, try to get the most out of some of these guys and get them healthy and see how they can contribute on this team. But the one player to me I'm going to be, I don't know about you guys, but the one player that's going to be under the microscope for me by far the most going into the season is Evan Neal, because I think he's so critical to what the success is going to be of that offense, because we've seen it before. How many times have we had a lot of playmakers, but the offensive line was so garbage at one or two positions that it wrecked our season? Right tackle, Nate Solder, that was a disastrous signing. And then when we moved to the right tackle, it killed us even more. Same thing with Eric Flowers. Evan Neal is coming off a disastrous season last year where he did not play well and he came off injury. He has got to come into this year a lot better overall, and he's got to be a stable player at that right tackle position, because we can't have that worry that he's not going to be able to hold up at right tackle, and you have Daniel Jones running for his life coming off that outside, because teams know that he struggled against speed rushers off the outside. So Evan Neal is to one of the major keys coming into this 2023 season. He has got to step up his play going into his second season to solidify that right tackle position and not make us think, oh, crap, do we have to move this kid into guard, and do we have to get ourselves another right tackle? So I had to bring that. That's the kid that might have – that's the biggest key of this team next year.
I don't know. I wouldn't take it as far as to say that he had a disastrous season, because Evan Neal last year was a very competent run blocker. You know what I mean? That's still also part of what he's there to do. So he was actually pretty good in that department. Obviously, we do know his pass blocking has to improve by a whole lot, but at the same time, I gotta chalk it up right now until I gotta I'm not gonna get on this kid's bad side, and I don't want to put him under a microscope, because last year he was a rookie. He was injured most of the season, pretty banged up most of the season. So at the end of the day, I'm not prepared to put him under that microscope quite yet. I don't think his play was so poor that I need to say, okay, we got to keep we do got to make sure he can handle the position. We got to make sure he can handle his pass blocking assignments. Like you said, he had all kinds of trouble with speed rushers. That is absolute facts. But at the same time, Andrew Thomas, he had a rough rookie season as well, and he was able to turn things around. I got to give Evan Neal that same kind of opportunity, man. Got to see what this kid can do before I start just saying, I got to put him under this microscope, because I respect your opinion, Jeff, but I just think this. I think he still did half of his job pretty damn well.
He did half of his job,
and,
Mac,
and,
but
and as a rookie.
I do agree with you. He is a rookie. We can't really. We have to give him some time to develop. He is, for me, he's closer to becoming a bust than meaning he's still in what we want him to be. But he is a rookie. I can't be on that kid. But what I do see is Andrew Thomas at least showed the signs of him handling how to block. You know, it's kind of like, come on, bro. Like, I know you're a rookie, bro, but at least Andrew Thomas.
That's what I'm saying.
showed
When
the
you say that,
signs,
he struggled. Like I said, he struggled with the pass blocking, but he didn't struggle in the run game. I mean,
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
was definitely a big reason Saquon and big reason Saquon Barkley was able to.
And we can't take that away from him. Absolutely.
No, he was good in the run game. I agree.
You cannot, you cannot ignore that. Act like as if that just means nothing, because we're looking at the fact how badly he was getting beaten by edge rushers coming on. And yes, like I said,
That's true.
he has to work hard. He has to. He's got to work. He's got to make sure he's get that footwork down and become better. But I trust in a guy with his work ethic that I believe that he has, that he will do those things and he will be better. And like I said, he was injured. He was a rookie. I mean, rookies don't just come in the league and just blow the doors off. I mean, this guy was playing.
Some rookies have bad first
he hadn't
seasons
played in a couple of years
really
at right tackle. I mean, I know it's a little difference. He moved from the other and college. He played left tackle his last couple of years. He moved over to right tackle in the NFL his first year. All these things matter, and he's as a young player. I don't think his play was just. I just think it. I don't. Like I said, the pass blocking. Yeah, I agree. That was disastrous. That part of his game, but the rest of his game, like I said, the run blocking and just some of the other things he did some positives as well. And one of those positives was showing good toughness and being out there for his team. Like I said, the guy was banged up most of the season, and he was still out there.
That injury had a major effect on him,
giving it what he got.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to see.
No,
I don't know.
But,
we at least can all agree that he's not Eric Flowers.
Let's move along a little bit from the Giants. There's been some other news, other free agency things going on in free agency. I want to talk about one team in particular. How about them Carolina Panthers, man? They've been a very, very, very busy team this offseason.
I like what they're doing.
A lot of key additions. Made the big power move to get the first overall pick, trade up to get the first overall pick in the draft. I'm assuming
the best move they made was getting Frank Reich.
Guy. But they've added the damn wide receiver tandem. They've added Miles Sanders in the backfield. I mean, this team's looking like they're trying to gear up to take over a very weak NFC South division, man. How you guys feel about the Carolina Panthers moves?
They made a lot of good veteran moves. They made a lot of good veteran moves to help out what's going to be coming in a young quarterback. You want to get him a good, solid running back, you bring in Miles Sanders. You want to get him a couple of veteran receivers that know how to get open, and Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. And then you get him a solid tight end in Hayden Hurst. And I think that Frank Reich is he's developing a vision for what he wants to give to his offense going forward. And what's the best thing for a young quarterback? Give him a lot of capable veteran playmakers on a team. That's what the Giants gave Eli Manning when he came into the league. Gave him Amani Toomer, and he had Plexico Burress. Veteran playmakers for a young quarterback to take advantage of. And that's exactly what they're going to be doing over there in Carolina. And with that division being wide open, I mean, there's not to say that if Carolina gets the right quarterback in there, I mean, they have a young offensive line they're still trying to develop too, and a solid defense. Who's to say that Carolina can't come out of that division and, come out of that very weak NFC South and come out the division winners? Hell, they almost did it last year.
Didn't they sign
real fast, Adam, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to just be real fast. I love that Mac brought up this question, and I love that Jeff answered it the way he did, because Carolina been loud in free agency, and I'm going to answer it like this. They're doing all the right things for the rival of a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. They're doing all the necessary teams are good NFL teams. Now, Carolina, you guys been in the struggle for a while. Hopefully, you guys can rise. Hopefully, you guys get your quarterback. And you guys with Frank White, I'm going to leave that for Adam. I know Adam wants to get on that, but they're doing all the right steps to bring in hopefully the future of the quarterback of Carolina Panthers. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, you make a great point. They're building the team correctly. They brought in a veteran quarterback, I think, as well. Either Tyler Heineke or Case Keenum, one of those two bums they brought in to kind of usher in whoever the quarterback is. And you're looking at it like this, right? You bring in Miles Sanders. You got a coach in Frank Reich who's going to know how to use him because of Jonathan Taylor. He's also going to know how to utilize offense. It wasn't his fault that the teams essentially failed. It was his quarterbacks being idiots, okay? They're absolute idiots. He brought in Matt Ryan. They thought that was going to help. That went kaput. Carson Wentz went kaput, okay? He had Andrew Luck. That guy retired on him, okay? And he had Jacoby Brissett, which probably was the best quarterback he had there outside of maybe Phillip Rivers the one year, and that guy failed him. So now he's going to have a chance to get his own guy, redo some of the things that were wrong last year in Indianapolis, and get the team going in the right direction. They've got a lot of talent over there. Okay, I know they got rid of DJ Moore. You have to get up some assets to go get the number 1 pick. You now have the pick of the litter. Now, what would be interesting to me is if they don't go CJ Stroud and take Anthony Richardson, that would be interesting. I think they're going to go CJ Stroud, but I would not be surprised if they decided, fuck it, we're going to go Anthony Richardson because he has more talent than both these guys combined, and Frank Reich's the guy who can bring it out of him. See, that's why I like a guy like Daboll. I was all over Richardson with Daboll because I'm like, yo, let Daboll get his hands on a clay piece of material like this, a guy he can mold from the granite that is out there, right? Sometimes you need you bring these quarterbacks in like Richardson, and he goes to a shitty team, has a shitty experience, and he becomes a bust, right? But if he goes to a smart team with the right coaching staff that knows how to utilize him and accentuate his talents, he becomes the star player that he becomes. Sometimes you get guys like Cam Newton who are just phenomenal athletes playing the quarterback position, but aren't necessarily great quarterbacks. And then they go to a team that, doesn't always have the right kind of mindset for him. Frank Reich is that
he's
guy.
making a comeback. He's trying to make a comeback. Cam.
Well, yeah, okay. He can come back in the XFL, the UFFL, or
There's no
USFL,
comeback.
whatever. Right. Who cares? I'm done with Cam Newton. Go back on whatever cereal commercial you're on, or Oiko's yogurt commercial. Do those. My point is, CJ Stroud, to me, is the best fit for that team, but I could see them getting Anthony Richardson. But you have a guy like Frank Reich who finally gets a quarterback he can start from scratch. Remember, he was with Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz had his great years. Why? Because he could mold him into what he needed before Carson Wentz decided to have a mental breakdown and all of a sudden become whatever. That knee injury really fucked him up. But Frank Reich was that guy who helped Nick Foles. He helped this guy. I think he's going to do well in Carolina. I think it's a great move for them to get a competent coach finally. I mean, they had what? Who was that guy? I forget what his name was. The Giants were after him too. Matt LaFleur.
Oh, Josh
not
McDaniels.
Matt LaFleur.
Josh
No.
McDaniels.
The guy that just got fired from Carolina. What was his name? The college coach.
Oh,
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule.
Right.
Matt Rule.
Giants were after that guy, and he was a clown.
Puke when they hit Josh
Right?
McDaniels, huh?
I mean, we decided to go. I mean, I can't fault them for Joe Judge. I understand why they were doing it. Right? Ben McAdoo was completely a shit your pants moment. We need to hire a guy, right? Pat Shermer was kind of like the best of the ball, right? You weren't really dancing with the best looking females out there, so you took the one that you thought was the best looking out of a poor group, right? Yeah, Joe Judge, where I really thought they were going after Mike McCarthy, and then they went after Joe Judge, and the rest is history. You really sometimes need a guy who's going to bring it together. I think Frank Reich brings Carolina together. I don't know if they win the division just yet. I think Atlanta will have something to say about that. I think they're going to be the two teams. And not forget, New Orleans did get Derek Carr, okay, with Alvin Kamara. This is probably his best back he's had that can do some things. People forget about Derek Carr. He's legit. If we think Daniel Jones is a legit quarterback, Derek Carr is just as legit, okay? And he's going to a team where anything can happen. Anything can happen. I don't like Dennis
You can
Allen.
see the revival of Michael Thomas too, who's been a ghost for 3 years.
Well, to
Stay
follow
in the
your point
NFC
real
South for a
fast,
minute and go elsewhere in the NFC South. Go ahead, Zion.
I'm just gonna say this because I know let's talk Mac to make Adam's point more realistic. Look what homie just did this past season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He took over a clusterfuck situation.
Doug Peterson, yeah.
Doug Peterson is the same. That to make Adam's point right there.
Frank Wright did that with
You know
the
what I'm
Colts
saying?
too. It just fell apart. It fell apart because he didn't have a legit quarterback. He had to piecemeal.
But it's bringing in a coach and fixing an organization. Go ahead, Mac.
Now I was gonna say let's stay in the NFC South for a minute and let's talk about another quarterback that's signed in the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, guy we all know and love, former number
Oh
one overall
man,
draft pick Baker
I kind of love the
Mayfield.
move.
Oh
Any
yeah, love
chance?
Baker.
Any chance? Do you guys see any chance of Baker Mayfield getting his career back on track down in Tampa Bay? He's got a couple good weapons down there to toss the ball around
I hate to
to.
say it, yes.
Any
say
chance
yes.
of this
Yeah.
guy getting his career back on track?
Here's
I'll go.
here's why
You
I
can go.
think it's going to be a wild card, because we haven't seen him play with a receiver this caliber in a while. I mean, yeah, he had Odell Beckham Jr., but there was a lot of turmoil going there. Mike Evans is a different animal, okay? And they got a lot of pieces down there that can really help him out. And he doesn't really need to do much, right? He just needs to be competent. And we know that he can be. I don't necessarily, they changed their offensive coordinator, right? So it's probably going to be a little bit different offense. I don't like Todd Bowles as a coach, but I think if anybody can go down to Tampa Bay and do it, it's going to be him. Now, again, I just think it's fun. I'm going to root for the guy because he's been an underdog. Let's see what happens. He woke up dangerously or whatever that thing was that he was, saying. I think it's going to be I think Tampa Bay is going to be fun to watch. I don't know if he's going to be, lighting it up, but I think he's going to be more competent than he was with Carolina because Ben McAdoo is.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. You don't have to do much, and you have a pretty good. They still have some holes, but
Godwin?
a pretty good offensive
they
line
do.
and a great receiving core. So you don't really got to do much. Throw it up. Godwin will be there to catch it,
Okay.
or Mike Evans will be there to
Gabriel
catch it.
too, right?
And hopefully the defense. Their
Gage.
defense is what
Russell
I'm
Gage, yeah.
more about. You know what I'm saying? They
And
did
a
lose
tight
some key
end.
pieces on defense. They have OJ Howard and another tight
Kate
end too.
Otten. They have Kate
Kate
Otten.
Hudson,
No,
yeah,
they
there
don't
you
have
go.
OJ Howard anymore.
Oh yeah,
OJ
they got rid
Howard's a
of him.
Raider.
Sorry,
But Kate
but
Otten is upcoming.
yeah, they have a lot of pieces on that offense, and
And the
if you
offensive
think
line's
about
getting
it
healthy.
too, the offensive line's getting healthy. It's the defense that I'm more worried about in Tampa on say making it into the playoffs. But I think
Their
Baker
defense was
Mayfield.
pretty good last year.
He it is I think they did lose some key pieces though, but Todd Bowles is still a defensive minded coach,
I hate
and I
Todd
mean like
Bowles.
you can't go wrong
Not
when
like
you
a
have
Jets fan.
two number ones basically in
I just don't think
Godwin
he's
will
a
be a
good
number
coach.
one on any team, and Mike Evans. You know who I don't think is a good coach, and I puke when every time I hear his name is homie Josh, bro. Like, what are you doing, bro? What is the plan? What's the plan, Josh?
Two coaches that let's stay in the AFC South, right? You have Frank Wright, he's a good coach, right? You have Arthur Smith, who's in not Arthur Smith. I forget the name of the coach in Atlanta. Is it Arthur Smith? I think it's Arthur
Smith.
It is Arthur. It is
Yeah,
Arthur
right.
Smith. Yes.
So Arthur Smith, who came from Tennessee, still new, up and coming guy, but I think pretty competent. You have freaking Todd Bowles. I mean, he doesn't do much for me. And then you have Dennis Allen. So like we're of all those guys, if I were to close my eyes and think, I'm looking at Frank Wright as the guy that is the best of that bunch. Dennis Allen's done nothing. He had a Raiders team that was terrible. Okay, let's be honest. Sometimes coaches don't get the best situation. So, but if he can put it together, he's a guy that but if he doesn't, am I surprised that Dennis Allen and the Saints are like mediocre? Like, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And in Tampa Bay, sometimes you're like Bruce Arians. If Bruce Arians was still there, I'd be like, yo, Baker Mayfield is going to have a breakout year. You know what I mean? But he's not. You have Todd Bowles. He's just not the guy for me. I'm sorry.
I worry about their offensive line. I mean, they
come back
released
healthy
their
now, right?
they released their left tackle. Donovan Smith is not on the team, and they traded Shaq Mason over to Houston. So that's already 2/5 of your offensive line you're trying to replace. I mean, their left guard was pretty much a revolving door last year. Jensen at least will be healthy, and they'll get Wirfs back. But your offensive line is still in flux. Who's to say that this team still hasn't tried to trade a big salary like Godwin or Evans? I mean, you have two receivers making huge money. So, I mean, is it possible they trade one of these guys by the NFL draft? Yeah. I mean, I think Tampa Bay could still be a good team in this division. Their defense primarily has come back. They pretty much brought back a lot of their key players, including Jamel Dean, their other outside cornerback. But
Tom Brady had a decent year last year.
No, he
You know,
did.
it
He did.
wasn't
And
great.
their offensive line was not good. Their offensive line was not good last
Well,
year.
maybe Baker
at all.
can help that. You know, maybe he can move around a little bit. Maybe
They're
that
moving, but they
help.
also, I think, Jeff, if I'm not wrong, I mean, like they could easily, I think I don't know if they pick in they're for sure in the top 15. I think it's 11 or something. I don't know exactly where they pick, but they could secure offensive lineman right there. But I do love the fact that you did bring up that they did lose some key pieces on the
Well, you don't
offensive
trust in
line.
Kyle Trask. You don't trust him as
Oh,
the
yeah.
quarterback.
That
You know?
Super Bowl bound, here they come.
I mean, you know what? The Tampa Bay is an interesting anomaly. It was a great question that was brought up about Baker Mayfield because anything can happen down there with him. He could be lightning in a bottle, and they end up being 8-8 and getting to the playoffs, and or he could be a complete cluster. You know what? And which could be, and they start to say, "Screw it, we're going to tank for Caleb Williams," and they'll move on from there. But I think if you look at the Saints, they're trying to win something. You don't bring in Derek Carr just to lie down. And let's be honest, they were a competent quarterback away from probably being winning more games. I wouldn't say contender. I mean, Andy Dalton wasn't anything to write home about. Derek Carr gives you a little bit more juice in that position. You still have Alvin Kamara, right? I know they got.
I like the receiving core a lot too. Their receiving core is very underrated.
Yes. The offensive line is. I'm sure they're going to make some upgrades there. Defensively, they were in most of their games, and we're not talking about a huge team in the South. I mean, that team was what 8-8. Didn't they lose? Did they have a losing record this year?
I think the Saints had a losing record. Yes.
The Buccaneers had a losing record going into the playoffs. Didn't one of them have a losing record going into the playoffs? Am I wrong, or were they 500?
I think they were 7-8. 7-8 this year, or no, not 7.
Bucks
Yeah,
the team
who
one
won
game below 500.
Yeah,
It was
they
Tampa
were
Bay.
8-9.
they had a losing
8-9.
record. Yes, they had a losing record.
So my point is like we're not talking about a world-beating division, right?
It's the
We're
worst
talking about
division in football right now.
A bunch of crappy teams that could you throw a dart at the wall. One of them is going to have to win by default. If you look at it on paper right now, the Saints have the better team. Do they have the better coach? I think Carolina has the best coach, but right now lacks in the team, right? So
I think, like you said, like Carolina right now has the opportunity to win the division with a rookie quarterback. Like I'm not trying to just shove all those other teams aside, but I mean, like if their defense is not that bad too, and if Brian Burns didn't play for Carolina, Brian Burns' names will be talked about more. Like if Brian Burns played for a big budget team like a New York Giants or a Los Angeles team, Brian
DJ
Burns'
Shark's
name
going
would
there now.
be more talked about, And I just think their defense, what they have, I just think that it's their division to win. Like Carolina's set up to win, and it all comes down to obviously if they can manage.
They just signed
having a
DJ
rookie
Shark,
quarterback.
right? They have that.
I personally believe
they brought
New
Andy
Orleans
Dalton.
is probably the better team out of the 4 teams in that division. I just think New Orleans is the more complete team out of all 4 of those teams in that division right now. If I had to pick one
agree
of
with
them
Mac.
right now, but I think it's a pretty bad division, and it's pretty wide open as well. But
I'm going to go on a limb.
I believe New Orleans is probably
Carolina wins the division next year. Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Adam too because I do trust the coach Murphy in Carolina, and that's yes, Mac is 100% right. The Saints have the better roster, but I just think
Doug
like
Peterson with the Jaguars.
I just think Carolina wins that division. Like that, it's their division to lose. But
Just
we'll
because
see what happens.
they got DJ Shark
all
right now,
all right.
Terrence Marshall. They have a few other guys. Let me see. And I think their defensive
Adam
coordinator is
Thielen.
somebody good.
Yeah,
They
Adam
got
Thielen and
Dylan
DJ Chark. Yeah. And Hurst is not bad as a tight end too. But I want to talk about I don't know if you were going to transition this, Mac, but I'm going to talk about the other team in New York, the Jets. I think the Jets have made some very underrated moves this offseason too. I like the Allen Lazard signing. I think he's one of the I think he's a very underrated red zone receiver. He does have some issues with drops, but he is 6'5". He does have some underrated deep speed. He did come off a pretty solid year last year. He's a good number 2. I mean, Garrett Wilson is going to be taking up so much attention on that offense. You put him as your 2. I love I think Mecole Hardman is an upgrade over Elijah Moore right now, and that dude is healthy. You know how explosive a player Mecole Hardman is. And then, I mean, you're getting Breece Hall back. You got a good complementary running backs. I like their tight end group with the Uzama and Conklin. I mean, their defense is still pretty solid overall. You just be able to bring in some more pieces. The biggest problem with the Jets Obviously, besides the quarterback, we know that, but we know who is on his way. And I think the offensive line, they got to try to fix that offensive line, and it cannot be let's wait until Mekhi Becton comes back healthy and hope he stays healthy, because they tried that twice already and it blew up in their face. This team's got to go out there and they have got to fix that O-line and give Aaron Rodgers or whoever it is the amount of attention necessary to allow that offense to be able to go out there and showcase their skills. And you're even hearing rumors about a certain wide receiver that used to be a New York Giant that's been possibly linked to the Jets. So I like what the Jets are doing this offseason. If they can get Aaron Rodgers there and fix up that offensive line, I can easily see that team being one of the best teams in the AFC in 2023.
I agree with you. I think right now the team I have coming in and having a great season, and the team right now, I know it's super early, but the team to beat Kansas City right now in the AFC Championships for me is the Cincinnati Bengals. I just think Joe Burrow and what he has on offense is they're going to get it together. But the Jets are easily right up there if they get Rodgers. If the Jets get Rodgers, I think Buffalo took a step behind. Anything can happen. You still have Josh Allen. But I think the three teams right now is the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Jets if they get Rodgers.
Think the Jets, if they get Rodgers, are better than the Bills in that division?
Yes.
I'm still not convinced. I'm still not quite convinced.
I put him this close, Mac, neck and neck.
I think a quarterback that had no weapons last year and a defeating offensive line and still had a season that Aaron Rodgers has, when he gets the receivers that the Jets have, absolutely.
I don't think the Jets will be the Broncos per se, because Aaron Rodgers is very, very good. I think if they played the same style of football they played last year, they're in the playoffs. The reason they did not go to the playoffs last year is their offense is a complete disaster in some of the games. You're not going to have that. Listen, the Jets right now are going to, not if they get Aaron Rodgers, when he comes through that door, because he's coming through that door. I talked about it with a family member today who came over, and he was like, well, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers? I said, listen, the Green Bay Packers are the ones holding this deal up right now. Nobody else. Okay, they're the spiteful, partner, girlfriend, whomever, that's upset that their star player doesn't want to be there anymore, and because he gave them all this hell, they're going to let it drag out.
But right? Over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions is a horrible season. Okay, I understand, Cole.
No. See, here's the thing. I wouldn't talk, Cole. Your quarterback had a worse season than Aaron Rodgers. You would have loved to have Aaron Rodgers.
The receiving, give Aaron Rodgers a lamb. I'm just saying.
But I'm not trying to argue whether or not Aaron Rodgers is good. I don't care. All I'm saying is he's going to come in and change the dynamic of that Jet team instantly. Like they were saying about, like we were talking about Odell Beckham Jr. and if you want to bring him in. I don't think Daniel Jones has the gravitas to get in the face of Odell the way Aaron Rodgers would if he goes to the Jets and lets him be a distraction there. I think Odell can become bigger than the team, especially with a young team like the Giants who are still trying to find their identity. They know they have their leaders, but let's be honest. Even Eli Manning had Jeremy Shockey upstaging him, with his hands in the air. Right, Plaxico Burress for a few years. That could be Odell Beckham. Beckham's not going to do that with Aaron Rodgers, because he's going to look at him like, yo, bro, I got a ring. You want a ring? Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jones doesn't have that clout where he's going to be like, hey, man, I've done this. Odell's going to be Odell, right? So I think for them to bring in a guy like him, he changes their entire dynamic. Now, do I like Robert Saleh as a coach? I don't.
No.
Do I like Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller? Not necessarily, but Aaron Rodgers had a couple of good seasons with him when he was the quarterback coach in Green Bay. So we will see. I think they have a good defense. The Jets, when healthy, they have a decent defense. Sauce Gardner was the best player in football. All right, he was defensive rookie of the year. Arguably could have been defensive player of the year. I mean, that's how good he played. Now, if they get anything out of Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, and a couple other guys, they're going to be fine. Their offensive line is got some decent depth, like you said. I think he's going to be behind a better offensive line. He's going to
love Garrett Wilson. He's going to love Garrett Wilson.
That guy's fantastic. I just think, like, Aaron Rodgers had a good year last year, even with a bunch of guys he had to adjust with. Now he comes in with far talented guys this time around, right? And I just think it's going to be a better situation for him.
Here's my point of view, real fast. And
Here's the
I don't
problem.
mean
Here's
to
the issue.
dis.
Here's the
Go ahead,
Go
man.
ahead, John. Go ahead.
I'll make it fast. I
Here's
didn't
the
mean to
issue
like
with the
say.
Jets. Here's the issue with. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be fast, and then you go right ahead. I didn't mean to come at you like that, Cole. But the only thing is, like, hey guys, we still have a great name, Aaron Rodgers, that's playing, and I know fans want to love the new school with the Justin Herberts of the world and the Joe Burrows of the world, and I do understand that. But we still have greatness with Aaron Rodgers, and I truly believe Aaron Rodgers on that Bengals team beats the Rams in that Super Bowl. I truly believe that. Like, let's not run these old guys out of the league so fast. Go look at Aaron Rodgers' resume. Give that guy receivers, and that guy has a chance of going to the Super Bowl every year. The thing that's stopping Aaron Rodgers, besides injury prone and anything, not injury prone, besides the injury, is the defense. You know what I'm saying? So if people want to talk about Aaron Rodgers only winning one Super Bowl, at least he has one Super Bowl. There's so much quarterbacks in the league that don't even have one Super Bowl that people talk about better than, like, people want to praise Joe Burrow. He doesn't even have one Super Bowl yet. Aaron Rodgers has one. And the only reason why sometimes he doesn't continue why doesn't he have three Super Bowls? It's Aaron Rodgers. Because it's a team game, guys. Sometimes defense matters. You know what I'm saying? Go give him a Sauce Gardner on defense and what the Jets have. Let's see him build. And I'm not saying the Jets for Super Bowl, but I'm just saying if they have Aaron Rodgers, they damn sure have a chance. Go right ahead, Matt.
All right, here's the thing with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, I'm not gonna not discount his greatness. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. Fine. That's all well and good. But I'm sorry. Even adding addition to Aaron Rodgers, I'm still not convinced that this team is ready to take just that step and leapfrog the competition and just all of a sudden now knock the Bills off that throne. I mean, to me, they still got to prove that, like Nike, they got to go out there and do it. They got to just do it like Nike, man. And at this point, the Bills, to me, are still the cream of the crop in that division. The Miami Dolphins are still nothing to sneeze at. If it wasn't for all those quarterback issues down the stretch, who knows what that season would have been, how that season could have rounded out for the Miami Dolphins. You know what I mean? So, and then the New England Patriots are coached by Bill Belichick. That just is a game changer all in itself. So, to me, the Jets got to go out there and prove to me that they're ready. And it's not just going to be as easy as saying we got Aaron Rodgers now, and that's just it. We're
but I'm not trying. I'm not trying to
discounting the other teams in that division.
I'm not trying to say like, oh yeah, now we have magically Aaron Rodgers, but it's the same thing if Patrick Mahomes was to come to the Redskins. It's the exact same thing. Because if you think about it, Buffalo doesn't have that strong defense. They lost. Yeah, they did re-sign some players, but they did lose some key places. New England, they still can't show, like, without Brady, that they can compete and make the playoffs. The thing about the Jets, they showed that despite injuries, what happened to the Jets is they got hurt last year, and that's why they took a fall. If Hall never got hurt and if some of the key defensive players never got hurt, the Jets would have made the playoffs. The one thing what hurt the Jets last season is injuries, and that seems to plague every, the healthier teams make the playoffs.
It's the quarterback.
If Tua didn't have the concussion issues for the Miami Dolphins, and they didn't get down to their practice squad quarterback, essentially, they might have won the division as well. That's what I'm saying, though. That's two teams in that division that we're talking about. The Jets completely just leapfrogging, and we cannot discount that.
Absolutely true. I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting Miami, Mac. What I'm saying is, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Miami, they might have problems in the locker rooms with all the mounts. Miami might have problems. There might be internal issues with Miami. And who is their quarterback next year? Is Tua? We don't even know who Miami's quarterback is going to be next year. Buffalo is in a decline. They're not the Super Bowl contender that everybody thought there was. They could even easily come out and win it and represent the AFC. And then New England is not the New England, right?
In a decline.
But they're not the team that they was last year. They took a step back, and that's the truth. Whether you have Josh Allen or you don't have Josh Allen, the truth is the Buffalo Bills took a step back, and the Jets are making all the right moves. Now, is the moves going to click? We don't know that. That's the fun thing about football. We still have to watch the season. But I truly believe
the last thing you just said, the Jets are making all the right moves. Will it click? That's what you don't know. You
We
do
don't know,
know
right? But
the Buffalo Bills click. You know that. That's something you
you
know. That's
we
not
do know,
something
but
we're
we
thinking of,
also do
or is it
know
going to
in the
happen?
last two.
We
I
know
love this.
that
I love this.
clicks.
We also know in the last 2 minutes of a game with Aaron Rodgers playing the Buffalo Bills, the Jets have a chance. We do know that with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, they have a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills in the regular season, and that's what we do know, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I feel. They gives the
What I
Jets a
also
chance
don't
to be in the
know,
games late.
what I also
I do
don't
love
know
what you're
is,
saying, though.
okay, Aaron Rodgers, he's been great his whole career in Green Bay. How do we know how he responds, moving to a new city, new team, new teammates, new everything, new
I
atmosphere,
just think
new
that's Aaron Rodgers. I
whatever. I
think you
don't
can
know
put
how he
Patrick
responds to
Mahomes on
that.
any team, and
You
Patrick
can
Mahomes will
think
fit.
it,
You know,
but until I see it, I don't know. Until I
Big
see it, I
difference
don't know.
between Green Bay and
And
New
we haven't
York.
seen it.
Big difference.
That
Big
is
difference between
that's
Green
true,
Bay
guys.
and
But
New York.
we're not talking about a rookie moving across country. We're talking about a veteran
I'm
quarterback
not.
that is gonna go to a big city. But it's not like Aaron Rodgers hasn't been in the spotlight his entire career, guys. That's a horse shit. That's baloney. We're talking about a veteran player moving teams. You can put Patrick Mahomes on any single team. You can put Aaron Rodgers on any single team. It's just that is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Will it gel? We'll see.
But they tried this before. I mean, to
No,
counter
like I
it, they
said,
tried it
I got
before
to
years
see it.
ago with Brett Favre. Brett Favre was the same type of player,
But Brett
older
Favre was
guy.
declining, bro.
How do you know Aaron Rodgers is not declining too?
Because he proved it last year.
He's not. He still was. How do you know he might not come into this season with the Jets though?
No.
To go with Max's point, and how do you know he doesn't come into this season all of a sudden starts showing a decline? You don't know. I mean,
No,
I think it's
absolutely.
going to
You
happen.
don't
I'm
know.
not saying it's going to happen, and I
That's
think the reason why both Miami and the
another
Jets
thing,
collapsed because they have a quarterback. Their quarterbacks were that bad that's why both those teams didn't go to the position that they were. The Jets and the Dolphins were ruined because their quarterbacks were pitiful.
Remember
another
when the
thing,
Browns had that?
You keep
Remember
putting
when the
out, you
Browns
keep
had
putting
that
out
super
Patrick
team?
Mahomes' name.
Okay,
And another thing,
what-
Patrick Mahomes is like nobody else in the league. Patrick Mahomes is on a whole different planet by himself. He's not like human like the rest of the guys
It's
are.
Patrick
So
Mahomes
he's
and
different
everybody
anyway.
else is here.
He took a receiving core last year where they didn't have a true number one receiver, and he still aired it out and made it look easy because he's Patrick Mahomes. And nobody else would have succeeded the way he did with that receiving core like he did. I'm sorry, it just wouldn't have happened.
I want to make my point.
He had a bunch of average guys.
I'm not
other
saying
than Travis Kelce, obviously.
I'm not saying that like the Jets are gonna win the Super Bowl. All I'm trying to say is I feel more confident. Yes, everything's on paper. We've seen the Browns team have a bomb. Everybody's like Browns for Super Bowl, Browns for Super Bowl, Browns for what happened to the Browns? I get it, fans. I'm not trying to sound uneducated. I know it's on paper. What I'm trying to say is Aaron Rodgers signing, yeah, it looks all fancy on paper, but what Aaron Rodgers can bring the Jets, keyword can, if everything goes right with the Jets, I can easily see the Jets winning that division. Maybe not easily, maybe because I'm not still forgetting about Josh Allen, but the Jets have an opportunity. Should I say that? The Jets have an opportunity if everything rolls right because you've seen what they drafted last year and how their draft picks hit, and they still, obviously, they're going to have to give some capital to Green Bay, but they're still trying to keep capital. That's why it's taking so damn long. No one's budging. You know what I'm saying? I think the Jets have a prime opportunity to really turn this franchise around if everything goes right. I think a signing like Aaron Rodgers immediately puts them into the talks. I'm not saying they're gonna do it. I'm just saying it immediately puts them
I understand
into the talks.
what Cole's complaining about because it's the people hate this move for some reason. Aaron Rodgers had a better season than our quarterback with arguably receivers he didn't know.
The worst receiving core in the NFL.
I wouldn't say NFL, but he had a bad receiving core, still put up 26 touchdowns and had a broken thumb. I mean, what he got?
He had young receivers. I wouldn't necessarily call them bad. They were young.
He had no name. Yeah.
Okay.
Prove it, receivers. Prove it.
See, the thing is that I don't care if he was throwing to freaking me out there. Okay. The fact of the matter is he threw for 26 touchdowns and had a solid year. If the Jets got that production out of their quarterback, they're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. That's what we're talking about. What I don't understand is why people hate this move so much. All of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, and people are like, "Oh, he's going to do this, and he's going to suck." And give me a break. He's going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's just going to be in a green uniform. That's all it's going to be. He's still going to be good. He's still going to be able to put up points. They're going to move the football down the field. It's not really going to be Nathaniel Hackett calling plays. It's going to be more Aaron Rodgers making calls in the field. Now, I don't understand why everyone's so against it or not. I mean, let it happen. Who cares? He wants to go to play with the Jets. They're going to be a good team with him on there. They'll be. Listen, I was watching the NFL Network yesterday, and they had the Bills and Miami on. And the Bills in Miami, the Bills were like 10-5, and the rest of the teams in that division were like 7. The Patriots were 7-6, the Jets were 7-6, and the Dolphins were like 8-5. So they were all competitive teams next year. You put an Aaron Rodgers on a competitive team like last year, that team's exponentially better. That's what's going to happen. He's going to make Garrett Wilson a star. Garrett Wilson's already better. We think he was better than Christian Watkins, or on the same level as Christian Watkins. I mean, he did win Offensive Rookie of the Year, Garrett Wilson, right? So, that's that. They have a Conklin in the tight end. They have a Zudu. They have already a good offensive line. If Aaron Rodgers was to play like he played last year, I'm guaranteeing you the team's winning 9 games and fighting for a playoff spot. It's not out of the realm of possibilities to think that. And I understand everything's got to gel. I get it. But we're not talking about a team that doesn't have any talent. We're going to have a team that has a pretty good O-line. All he's going to have to do is get the ball to a guy he already knows. Lazard, he already knows. He already has chemistry with that guy. Nicole Harmon, it's going to be fun to watch the Jets. And it's going to be fun to watch them take over the back pages when he comes in, because the Giants are going to do what they do. They have an accountant for a quarterback. So it's just going to be, Giants is that. But the Jets are always going to be in the paper every week.
Berrios is not on the team, Almighty. He's a Dolphin now. They released him, and he's with the Miami Dolphins. So Braxton Berrios is not there, and Elijah Moore's a Brown.
And not for nothing, we don't know what they're going to give up yet in compensation-wise, right? So they could get a player or two in the draft. I don't think they're getting a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers. So let's say, or maybe they swap 15 and 13 and give up a second-round pick. I don't know. But the Jets are going to have a pick to better their team as well, to help out, whether that's a skill position player, whether that's on the defense. The only concern I would have if I'm a Jet fan is we didn't address the defensive side of the ball the way we did address it years ago with Mosley and Jermaine Johnson. But if you look at what they've done, they brought in Lazard, they're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, they brought in Nicole Hartman. Where's the defensive talent going to come from? And
the
draft. You have to replenish that, right? You do have to replenish that.
I think the draft is where that defensive talent is going to be. And after what Joe Douglas did last year with the picks that he made, if I'm a Jets fan, I'd have confidence that Joe Douglas is going to be able to go into the draft this next month and be able to find some more key players that he can be able to plug and play into that team, especially a left tackle. I mean, that's what they're probably looking at right now is some more help on that offensive line, unless they believe that Dwayne Brown is the answer at left tackle or Mekhi Becton. I think that team will be able to find some players, too, on that on the defensive side. And plus, Jermaine Johnson is going to get an opportunity now in his second year to really showcase his abilities out there with the team. So that's another young guy you got to look out for. And yes, they do all money. Denzel Mims is still part of that wide receiver core, as is Corey Davis, but most likely Davis is probably going to get cut, or maybe he's involved with that trade with the Packers. So what's up, Lou?
What's up, Janation?
But
I do want them to control the pages, though, right?
Get ready to move on. We're going to have to move on, fellas. We got to move on. We've been talking about the NFL for an hour, for almost 90 minutes.
That's fine.
Nearly.
Absolutely.
It's time to move on. Let's move on to the NBA a little bit. Let you guys talk this NBA, talk out a little bit. It's coming down the stretch. The season's coming down the stretch. Guys positioning themselves for the playoffs, man. Let y'all guys handle this NBA talk, man. You know how I do. I back down,
absolutely
down on this a little bit because I'm just not that kind of fan. But
we usually don't do this, guys. But
getting ready for the playoffs.
We usually don't do this. I know Jeff is shaking his head right now because we're about to talk about the playoffs, and I know he has a lot to get out. We're gonna let him get that out. What do you guys think about after he gets it out? Sending Lou the link for he can come on for a bit. I know we don't usually do links, guys, here on Premium Takes, but Lou, if the boys agree, maybe after this basketball take, we'll let you come on and say a few things. Jeff, take it away.
Well, I mean, I don't even know what the hell to say about my basketball team anymore. They were five straight games where they looked like an absolute disaster. They couldn't defend. They couldn't shoot. Nobody on this team could do anything competent at all. And then they have a very impressive win last night. I mean, it's like the Nets woke up and remembered how to play basketball all of a sudden. Great defensive sets. You have multiple guys going out there hitting three-point shots. And then what happens tonight? I know they were missing some key players, but it's like besides Mikal Bridges, the rest of the basketball team forgot to play. It's like the rest of the basketball team forgot there was a game tonight against the Magic, and they got their doors blown off. So, I mean, like, I don't know what to think about this Nets team. I mean, I know it's a team that it's not complete. It's a bunch of ragtag guys on this team, you know, decent players, but nobody really is like that superstar type talent on this team. I know Mikal Bridges is developing into a solid player overall, but I mean, the Nets, at this point, I would not be shocked if they end up dropping into the play-in game, because that's what I'm expecting for this team. This has been the most trying season, if you're a Nets fan, that you've ever had to deal with. I mean, as a sports fan, I've never had to deal with the trying season with any of my sports teams like I've had to deal with this Nets team this year. It's been such a goddamn disaster with this basketball team, up and down, all over the place. So I just can't – I don't know what to say about the Nets anymore. And for the Knicks have been sliding a little bit too, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact they got to get Brunson healthy. They got to get Brunson out there. And they just got to continue to run that offense to Brunson, continue to try to get some good play out of Randall. You know, RJ Barrett's got to go into the playoffs a lot stronger. I like Mitchell Robinson. They have some good young players on that team. I mean, I think Zion's team was actually coming on pretty strong, the Heat, until they had that blowout loss to the Nets last night. So, I mean, the Eastern Conference looks exciting. The West, if you are a fan of basketball, you look at that Western Conference and how from like seeds 4 or 5 all the way down to like 12 or 13, they're separated by like 3 games. That's what you look for, is such competitive balance in that Western Conference. And you see teams like Memphis, Sacramento, who's come out of nowhere this year, and Denver, you know, leading the pack over on that West. I love what I'm seeing in the NBA right now. I mean, I've always been a big NBA guy, so I mean, I'm excited for the NBA playoffs, especially in that Western Conference, to see what team is going to come out of nowhere. Don't ever count out the Golden State Warriors. As long as Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Steph Curry are on that roster, you have got to always believe that Golden State is going to be a threat going into the NBA playoffs. So you cannot discount that team one bit. And, I mean, I don't know what to think with the Nets. I mean, if we make it into the play-in game, that's fine. If we somehow can keep the 6th seed, to me, that's gravy, because I'm not expecting this team to go anywhere this year. If they maybe win a round, that's amazing, but I'm not expecting it. So you guys go ahead.
You never know. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I mean, the Nets have a chance. They have a couple game lead on some of the back end teams. So, you know, maybe they have a chance to sneak in. Do I think they have are they going to win much? No, but the experience will be good going forward as they build the team this way. What I think is interesting is that last week or a few weeks ago, Golden State was the 6th seed. Now, I mean the 7th seed. Now they're the 6th seed, and they are only a game behind the Clippers. Well, technically the same record as the Clippers, who are the 5th seed, and they're one game behind the Phoenix Sun, who are the 4th seed. So that could all change in a matter of moments. And it's kind of funny to watch the Western Conference. They're the conference right now that is struggling and has more of the teams that have 39 victories, as opposed to the Eastern Conference, where a lot of the back end teams have 40 plus wins. Right, the 7th seed has 40 wins, the 8th seed has 37. Meanwhile, the Warriors have 39. They're the 6th seed, and the Pelicans and the Timberwolves have 37. So, and you have 3 teams stacked in the Western Conference at 39. I'm not counting out the Warriors. I think they're the most dangerous team in the playoffs in the Western Conference. I think the Nuggets know it. I think the Grizzlies know it. I think these top 2 teams, you know, they need to figure out how to get home court and how to dominate. Because if they see a team like, for example, the Nuggets would play they'll play the Timberwolves, right? I'm assuming right now, or whoever has the play-in game, that would be the 8th seed, right? Then the Grizzlies would play the Pelicans at this point, and then the Kings, who are the 3rd seed, would play the Warriors. It would be crazy to see. First off, I'd love to see Sacramento have playoff basketball again. It's going to be great to see that city erupt and play. But I think those teams need to have the home court and need to watch out and don't want to play that Warriors team. On the Eastern Conference, though, I like Boston. I like what they're doing. The only problem I have with Boston is Jason Tatum sometimes to me is not the dominant player that I want him to be. I need this guy he's stepped up. He's stepped up every year since he's been in the league. But now, in order for you to take the next level, you've got to be the guy that's going to take them there when your team's having a bad game. Because remember, in the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago when they played Milwaukee, he was shut down. He did not have a good series, and it affected the whole series of that ball game. If the Celtics want to be the team that we think they can be, because I think they have all the championship caliber they need, and I think they can beat anybody in the Western Conference. I really do. They need to get over the hump of beating Milwaukee. They need Jason Tatum to step up, be the superstar player that we believe he is. Because if he does that and if he plays, you know what I'm talking about, Jeff, that crazy, meteor.
I'll give you a take right here, Adam. I think Jaylen Brown is the guy I'd worry about more if I'm an opponent. Jaylen Brown is the one that steps up when it gets into the playoffs.
Right. But what I'm saying,
great.
Right, but when you put in Jason Tatum, you add him to that equation with Jaylen Brown, they're hard to beat. And what happens is when Jaylen Brown is scoring and Tatum is not, he's not affecting the game in any other manner. You need to learn to pass. You need to play, lockdown defense. He kind of just gets shut down the whole way and kind of just struggles the entire way. He needs to step up in those big moments and help out Brown and put them over the top. Because if he plays lights out and has a great, consistent playoffs, this team is going to be hard to beat. Because I don't think Milwaukee has the horses. I think they play good team basketball, but without Giannis, which they do have Giannis, but if Giannis comes out of the game, that's where they're going to struggle a little bit. Because they don't have the same scorers. They play a lot of bully ball, right? They kind of bludgeon you. They go up and do close shots, try to get the rim, and then they have their snipers in Middleton and
that's
Porter.
the key to me on Milwaukee is Middleton. If he could replicate what he did a couple of years ago in their championship season, Milwaukee is going to be a very tough team to beat. I think Middleton's the key to that team.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to be honest with you guys. I haven't been watching basketball this past couple of weeks, but I'm pretty confident that the Miami Heat, will make the playoffs. Hopefully that Butler goes into Super Saiyan mode again. Just going to be that cocky Heat fan and wait for the playoffs and hope for the best. But what I was going to say to you, Jeff, earlier,
I can show the standings if you want. Like, just show the standings.
Yeah, let's have that pulled up. What I was going to say earlier, Jeff, is you guys may have stumbled a bit, and this is a guy that hasn't been watching basketball for the past 2 weeks.
What's up, Taj?
So you guys may had what's up, Taj? You guys may have stumbled a bit, but you guys are still in it. And we have these powerhouses like the Bucks and like Boston and the 76ers and stuff, mostly Boston, the powerhouse. But the thing is, anything can happen. Anything can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at it. The Heat and the Nets is holding the same record. And we're not a powerhouse, but I'm confident that Jimmy Butler will get it together. Tyler Hero, Bam.
What is there, 6 games left or something like that? How many games
the season's
seven,
done.
7 or 8, I believe, are left.
So when you get it together, both teams, the Nets, I want to see you guys in the playoffs. I want to see us in the playoffs. And
I got the West.
Hopefully we can have some upsets. I have the Warriors winning out the whole West. I know the Nuggets are looking good and all that kind of jazz. But at the end of the day, the Splash Brothers, we all know it. We all seen it. When the Splash Brothers get it together,
Denver has to be that. That's what I'm saying is these teams that play the Warriors, you have to knock them out early because that team gets ignited
drag you on.
and they are very hard to stop once they open that floodgate. There's nothing you can do. If Klay Thompson and Curry are hitting shots from the moon, it is over for you. It doesn't matter what defense you play because whatever they touch turns to gold. That's just what they do. Like I said, when I watched them play the Bucks a few weeks ago, and they just turned it on as if you know what? Let's just they get made one shot and that was it. They went to the free throw line. They hit another shot. They played a little defense, and before you know it, the game's a blowout. And you're like, how did this happen? And how it happens
Facts.
is cerebral assassins. They lull you to sleep. And if you let your guard down, because that Bucks team was playing outstanding basketball, and then they couldn't hit a
Yep.
shot in the last 5 minutes of the game, and they couldn't do anything, and they had
And
no.
Draymond Green is such an irritant. He's such an irritant,
Right.
but he's so good of an intangible player, Green. He's such a great player.
When Giannis is not on there, they have no other facilitator to go out
Yes.
there and score. Drew Holiday is good, right? Drew Hill, right? Drew
Holiday.
True Holiday.
Right,
We
Drew
got it.
Holiday.
He really
Holiday.
stepped up for the Bucks. Absolutely.
He is
really
good,
did step up for the Bucks.
but he's not like a point guard that's a scorer. He's not a guy that's going to be your second guy. He will give you points. He will give you defense. But if you need to rely on him, like a Tony Parker, right? If all his guys are out of the game, Tony can give you some points. You know what I mean? Tony can throw it up there and keep you afloat in the game. He can hit some big shots. Drew Holiday can do that, but it's not as fluid. And if he's not on, or he gets shut down, or he goes cold, that's it.
You're right. I mean, like, is there a team that you guys think, like, outside of obviously the powerhouses of the world, and let's just say outside of the Golden State Warriors, is there a team that you guys can see winning it all? That's not, your Bostons, your Nuggets,
The Kings.
The Kings. Yes,
The Kings?
Jeff said it.
The Kings.
Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
God, is that team? That team is scary. With the young talent they have on that roster,
Sabonis, Fox,
is becoming. Sabonis is like another Jokic. This guy is like averaging triple-double all over the place. Fox is a great young point guard. Look what happened to Malik Monk. This guy's had a revival of a career, teaming back up with his teammate from Kentucky. I mean, you have Keegan Murray, who's a good young player. You got Harrison Barnes, who's had a career revival. I mean, you have Davion Mitchell. I mean, there's so much talent on this team. And look what Mike Brown has done as the head coach of that Sacramento team. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if Sacramento comes out of the West this year. That's how talented that basketball team is, and nobody should be sleeping on the Kings going into that Western Conference. And I have to say this too quickly. I'm sorry, Kyrie. You suck, and your team sucks.
I was just about to ask you about how's your chances with Dallas? What do you think about Dallas?
Well, I think
Go
the
ahead,
problem.
G-Nation will bring you on in a bit.
11 seed.
They bring in the same kind of player, a guy who's an ISO ball. Like,
There it is. Let's get it.
The guy, right, on Dallas, he needs the ball. He needs the ball to facilitate it. If you give him a guy who's a ball hog like Kyrie Irving, it slows down your offense. And you have two guys do the same shit. He's ISO. The problem with Kyrie.
See, I like the rotation when Wood was stored in. Now Kyrie came in, they put Wood back on the bench.
He's been
Continue.
such a disappointment too since Kyrie.
Super disappointing.
If you look at what Kyrie Irving did with that Cleveland team, okay, he was the Robin to LeBron's Batman. He really helped that team out. But when he's the number one guy, doesn't work because again, he is too much predicated on having the ball in his hands and creating. And that's not what you need right now in the NBA to technically win. Sometimes you need a guy that can create his own shot, right? Like Steph Curry, you put him on a screenplay and have him wrap around his power forward. He's wide open, can take a three. That's more important than sitting there in ISO ball trying to create street ball on the court. And I think that's what hurts Kyrie Irving's game. And I think when he goes to a team like Dallas, who doesn't run who already has a guy that kind of has the ball a lot in his hands, doesn't really work out. Doesn't really work out.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was a horrible pickup. I know that was a dumb move by Dallas. They just wanted to try to get another playmaker there and see how it was going to fit in together with Luka. But a lot of people just seeing how that move came about. You have like you said, Adam, two ball dominant point guards that need to have the ball in their hands. Neither one of them is good defensively. Neither one of them is a great facilitator. Both of them have to chuck up about like 25, 30, 35 shots a game.
And they're both ISO players.
Exactly. And neither of them can play defense. That's the big difference between those two and Steph Curry. Curry can at least step up his defensive game when you get into the playoffs. Kyrie Irving, and we saw it for firsthand for 4 years, this dude's not a good good defensive player. He needs to have the ball in his hands every single time in order for him to become, take advantage of his offensive abilities. And like you said, he's a number 2 option, a top-end number 2 option, and he can't get it done unless the ball is in his hands. And it's obvious right now we're seeing in Dallas how it's just absolutely blowing up in their face. Hey, Lou.
What's going on, Jeff?
Absolutely. Well, in the middle of that, we have a guest here with us today, guys. We have G Nation Talking Sports. Make sure you guys go Inside Sports. I apologize. We have G Nation Inside Sports. Make sure you guys go check him out. He's a part of that Big Blue family. G Nation, I know if I'm correct, you are a Knicks fan, and the Knicks actually been doing pretty good this season. Any thoughts you want to add to the conversation? Let's get it.
Don't get your hopes up. That's my thoughts to Knicks fans. Don't get your hopes up. They do this all the time. They have a good little stretch, and everybody be like, "Oh, they might make it." Oh, this is it's part of the hamster wheel already. Just get your hopes up, then shit on you. Get your hopes up, shit on you. Get your hopes up, shit on you. That's why I said, Jeff, you might as well just concede to the fact that it's a wrap, just like the Knicks.
Oh, I've already known it's a Lou. I've already known it's a wrap the whole time. The fan gives me hope because after what I saw last night with the Heat, I'm like, oh my god, maybe we actually could do something. And then, well, we have tonight where they got their asses beat by the Magic of all teams. So.
All you guys got to do is make it in, though. That's all you guys have to do. Anything can happen. Obviously, we know it's basketball.
That's all
The
any
great
guy
teams-
has to do.
Yeah.
The great teams win are the best out of seven. I mean, like, I'm just happy, honestly, guys. I'm just a Heat fan. I got someone that goes into Super Saiyan mode. Like once Butler hits Super Saiyan mode, everything is happening.
It's not the same in the NBA. The NBA is kind of dictated. It's like, we make it in.
absolutely
Great.
facts.
No. You don't
you're right
want to
on
just
that.
make it in. Like it's not
I
the
was just
NFL
trying to-
playoffs
what's
where
up, Mitch?
you can literally.
There it is. The
get on a hot
Sixers did lose
streak and
2 in a
win.
row. But Mitch, you know the Sixers are a powerhouse. Stop it.
Yeah, but James Harden on that team, what the hell kind of powerhouse are they? Just remember when James Harden
Okay.
comes out in the
That
playoffs,
is true.
that's what you're going to see. That
Hey,
shit's
but I
gonna go
think
down. Flames.
Embiid can carry some of the weight of Harden. That's all I'm gonna say.
The whole weight?
Not the
Is
whole
he going
weight.
to carry that
Some
whole
of the
team?
weight. But
Who else
real
on that
fast.
team
I have to rewind.
Who
I
else
have
on
to
that team do you
rewind.
trust?
Yeah, wait, hold on. Maxey.
I don't know if he's
Pretty good.
I don't know if he's a good number 2.
Okay,
Could be.
the
I'm mad
homie, the center, bro, the center.
I'm mad that I missed the football part of the show because we was live on past channel, so I didn't get to come in during the football segment. But I do want to ask you guys a question, but I don't want to interrupt the show. So after y'all done with the NBA section, I want to ask all of y'all on the panel what your opinion is of a specific thing football related. So please continue with your NBA discussion.
Appreciate that. I do agree with Adam real fast. Yeah, and then Jeff, you're right. It's not really a powerhouse. I think the team to win it all is Boston. That's the team to win it all. But I just hope that like I said, I'm gonna repeat it. I hope the Super Saiyan mode comes again, and I hope the Miami Heat plays the Golden State Warriors. in the finals. I hope the Golden State Warriors. Miami Heat plays the Golden State Warriors.
Give it up. It's not happening this year.
Tyler
It's not
is going to get hot
year.
at the right moment.
It is not
Bam is going to emerge
happening
at
with
the
the
right
Heat
moment.
this year. It's not
It's going to
happening.
happen. It's going to happen. We're going to
Adam,
beat
is it happening
Boston.
with the Heat? Is it
We're gonna
happening?
beat
I don't know why we're even wasting breath on this part of the topic, bro.
Hey,
we know that you're not doing it, man. You're gonna flirt and be like a Hershey squirt, gone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, early previews, Miami Heat versus the Warriors in the finals. Let's
Stop it,
entertain
okay? You're going to get bounced in the playing game.
The Heat make the finals. Come on, man.
Yeah. You'll
I
get
have a
bounced
better
by the
chance of getting
Raptors
struck
in the
by
playing
lightning
game.
than I do have the Heat making the. Give me a break.
Who
Stop
knows?
it.
They might pass
Stop
sensory
it.
beans.
Stop
Alrighty.
it.
I'm done saying my take on basketball. You guys can continue.
Stop tickling Jimmy Butler's balls.
Matt, go right
What's
ahead.
going on, Lou, man? Well, you said you had a question for the panel. We can open back, go back, reverse back real quick. Football.
Oh
Go ahead.
man. Okay. Now, we all know that the Giants have quite a few needs, but we've made some good cheap acquisitions in the free agency. I wouldn't say good, but some cheap optional pieces, right? Some good pieces, Darren Waller, of course, and some functional pieces for the cheap, right? Do you think that with the 25th overall pick, the Giants are going to go center? or cornerback?
Only those two positions.
Well, I mean, for the most part, people are thinking that they're going to go cornerback or wide receiver, but I didn't want to make the question long and take up too much of your show. But basically, what do you think they're going to go with their 25th overall pick?
I'm gonna go real fast and I'll let the boys answer. I think they stay by their roots and they take the best available player. So if Osiris Torrance drops and they feel like Osiris Torrance is the best available player, and maybe your Addison and your Johnsons of the world, your Hicksons of the world is gone, and then you take Osiris. I've been haven't been looking at the top centers in the draft, but I truly believe that we can fill the center in round 2, and I truly believe that the cornerback position is super deep. So unless a stud, like maybe a Cam Smith is there, then maybe we take Cam Smith. But I just feel like there's gonna be a run at early cornerbacks where if it's just the best available player to answer it. So if a top 3 receiver is there, we go receiver. If not, we move on. If a top 4 cornerback is there, we go cornerback. If not, we move on. But what I think will be there is interior lineman like Gord's valued at that position where it's not as deep. So I would be totally comfortable if we take someone like Osiris Torrance.
I'm sorry. Let me preface it with this because I didn't say it to begin with. Nick Gates is gone and Feliciano is gone. So now we definitely need a center.
Yeah, my take stays the same. I think we go after that interior offensive line. And if you go look at I forget what this is other guy, I believe what a TCU guy. He's dropping
Steve
2
Avila?
not no he starts with
Quentin Johnson?
not Johnson. His last name ends with an N, Noel or something like that. I have to go look it up. But
yeah.
He I've been watching some of this guy's tape. He might be there in the 3rd, and I don't want to wait to go to center that long. But I believe you can get away with taking that. But I just go with best available player to answer that question. I'll let the boys go.
Well, the Giants.
I agree.
The Giants have done a good thing in that they're not going to shop hungry. That's what they've done. They've done everything they need to. The problem is that the cupboard's bare in certain spots, and that is the center position, and we don't have a viable number 2 corner. So for me, if I am them, yes, I would probably take a corner over a center in the first round, only because the bust rate for corners is a lot worse after the first round than it is, a center. You can find a center. I'm not trying to say I want to be cheap and find a center, but, you can get a guy in the second round who can be a functional center for you for the next decade. Now, again, I would take Zion's approach. I would take best player available who's on your board, I guess. I mean, minus, unless Anthony Richardson falls to you, minus probably a quarterback, right? So if it's a safety that you deem the best and the kid from Alabama is there and you want to take him, you have that luxury to do it. And I think that's what the Giants have done this offseason, is position themselves to go wherever they want. And they don't have to necessarily reach per se. Because don't get me wrong, I want them to go center, but what if Schmidt's not on the board, right? Someone takes Schmidt in front of you. Are you going to take the next best center who may be graded a second round pick just because you want him at the first round? Right. So you want to go with the next guy up. So whatever your cluster of best players is, I would take the kid from Pittsburgh, the D tackle, if he was there, right? I mean, if he falls to you. So many different ways.
Okay.
I mean, just like beating the dead horse. I mean, same thing. I'm taking the best player available, no matter what position they is. I mean, just at that point, 25th pick in the first round, you can't just pigeonhole yourself to a position. I feel like. I mean, we know the need at center, and we definitely need a more depth at cornerback for sure. But at the same time, 25th overall pick, you got to go best available player at that time, no matter who it is.
Exactly.
Because you just can't leave that on the board at that stage. If you're getting a steal, you gotta grab it, man. And no matter what position they play. And I do agree with Adam, like you said, Giants this off season position themselves to be able to do that with the moves they made, man. I think, like I said, I can't wait to get the off season going because I want to see the battles and camps, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be some real competition out there, and people going to earn a spot on the New York Giants this year.
You ain't gonna be given a position just because we don't got enough people. You're gonna have to earn that spot. Jeffy?
Oh yeah, no doubt it's BPA. I just what you guys have been saying. I mean, whatever position that they think
To be
could,
clear, he's talking about best player available, not bisphenol A, which is on them plastic
Yeah.
bottles, which your body reads as estrogen and gives you man boobs.
just to make sure anybody has that clarification right there. But yeah, it's got to be BPA. It's got to be BPA because I mean, you can't just like
That's a
say,
fact.
oh, I'm going to target this
Man,
position only, or I'm going to target that position only. Remember what Jerry Reese did previously? Jerry Reese did that, and look what happened to him.
Adam
But-
said, man boobs.
Yeah.
Man,
Movies. But like yeah, I mean, remember what Jerry Reese did? Jerry Reese pretty much pigeonholed himself, telling teams, "Oh, who I'm going to go after? Oh, I'm going to go after this position." And what ended up happening? Teams found out, and they jumped ahead of us, not once but twice that draft, and they ended up getting our players, and we had to panic and get a guy named Eli Apple to like bring him in as our quarterback. So I mean, we can't. You got to go with whatever player is there and at the top of your board, even if it's not your biggest need. You got to think about longevity. Remember, wide receiver. How many wide receivers on this team are past this year? 2. Wandale and Slayton. Quarterback. Does anybody trust anybody health-wise in this cornerback position to stay healthy all season, including Adoree Jackson? I don't. And then you look, I'd even throw linebacker out there. I like this Okereke kid, but Beavers is coming off an injury. McFadden, I think he's a good rotational player. And Gerard Davis, he showed some nice moments during the end of the season, but who's to say we don't bring in another impact
Let me
linebacker
actually
and throw him in there with Okereke?
Let me steal that point. Let me steal that point. Okay, guys, Steve was sitting there at 25. Like Adam said recently, we can get A.T. Perry in the third, probably, guys. We have receivers on this
I
roster.
drafted him in the third,
Okay.
actually, on my mock.
Yeah, there you go. So we're sitting there. Maybe the best center, the best offensive guards is off the board. Maybe the cornerbacks is deep. We rank them. We rank a bunch of them the same. Trenton Simmons is sitting there, right there. Clemson linebacker. I get it. We just took Bobby. Are you guys opposed to getting a Clemson linebacker in here?
No,
I just mentioned him
no.
before.
Yes,
Just mentioned
that's
him
I
absolutely.
like
at the
Trenton
beginning of the
Simpson.
show.
I like
I
Trenton
mentioned
Simpson.
him
The
Absolutely.
only
at
thing
the
that
beginning of
worries
the
me
show.
about him. Go ahead, Adam. My bad.
No, I mentioned at the beginning of the show was a guy that because we only have basically one linebacker, him and Okereke could be your linebackers of the future and really carry your defense into the next couple of years. Sorry, Lou.
Go ahead, Lou. That's facts,
But
though.
I like Trenton Simpson. The only thing that worries me about him is in his run pursuit, he gives the runner back a cutback lane most of the time, and he ends up paying for it.
Well, that could be coached out.
True, and there is a deep linebacker class in this draft.
Yes.
You got Ivan Pace Jr., Drake Thomas, Trenton Simpson, Nolan
Jack Campbell.
Nolan Smith, I think his name is. You got a bunch of
Homie's brother, the Detroit Lions brother's coming out. No, Soul, what's his name?
Noah
Forget his
Sewell.
name. Yeah.
Noah Sewell.
PJ Ojolari.
Yeah,
Ojolari's brother's
little
coming
brother.
out. Yep.
There's a lot of linebackers in this draft class, so I think we'll definitely address it. But the
I
only
wouldn't be
reason
surprised
I
they go
was
edge
asking
rusher
that-
at 25.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up,
We
Adam,
need a
because I
third
can
edge
easily
rusher.
see exactly.
Watch
Nolan
Jalen
Smith.
Carter fall.
Nolan
I'm
Smith.
just saying.
Coach Ed has been bringing up that name for a while, Nolan Smith. That's a guy you got to look out for that could potentially be a pick at 25 because Ojolari last year could not stay
Time out
healthy.
real fast, Jeff. I want to apologize to my fellow co-host for making this potluck. I just had to send Taj the link as well, so I apologize. But I know you guys are happy to see Taj. Welcome, Taj. Continue, Jeff. That's my fault, host. Don't get mad. It's my fault.
What's up,
All right,
y'all?
continue, Jeff. Thank you,
Taj.
guys. It's
But,
been a while
I mean,
since we had a big powwow where we talked to everybody.
I got a hot take, and I mean, if it doesn't happen, oh well. But I think that these offensive centers are going to be available in the second round. I think that you're going to be seeing a lot of these guys still on the board around the very late first round and the second round. Because you don't really see a lot of offensive centers or interior offensive linemen really go off the board a lot in that first round. Maybe the latter part towards the end, if there's a team that wants to trade into the first round to get one of these guys that they drop. But because the quarterback class is very strong, because you do have a lot of good wide receivers, there's a good amount of cornerbacks coming out and solid linebackers. I could see those interior offensive linemen like a Schmidt, like a Stromberg, like,
Smith
the
is
kid from
rated at
Michigan.
like 36, 38,
Yeah.
See,
somewhere
but
around there.
you see
And
what you're
that's what the
saying
good
right
sweet
there
spot is.
is that every one of those players you're talking about ranked roughly the same. They're in a cluster of players, so you're going to be happy with any one of those players.
Hey,
That's what
Dakota.
that is
Except
what
for
makes
Tipman.
the
Except for Tipman. Don't want Tipman at all.
that's
No.
what, but that's just what you want out of a draft. You want a guy, to be able to pick whatever. Like they were talking about Eli Ricks, right? If he falls to us at cornerback, I take him. He fits exactly what Wink Martindale looks for. 6'2", 190. Okay, he comes from Alabama, big time, went to LSU, big time program, right? He's going to come in and fit right here. That's what allows you to do things like this when you set up your team. And Joe Shane has done it by bringing in players at position like wide receiver. You can still go wide receiver.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
just because they brought in 10,000 slot receivers,
Yeah.
right?
It feels
You know,
like it.
doesn't mean that they can't draft another slot receiver in Zay Flowers and have be the the slot team, right?
That is true. I'm gonna throw this out here real fast, and then I know we can. What's up, Taj? Thank you for joining us. We are probably gonna wrap this up in about 20 minutes, guys, towards that 2:30 mark, that 2 hour and 30-minute mark. But I'm gonna just say this: like into like the 7th round, even maybe undrafted free agent. I mean, like I don't know. I've been watching tape on this guy, and I don't know why no one's talking about him. This guy is 6'3". He ran a 4.37. Matt Landers, look him up, out of Arkansas. He's gonna go late. He might not even get drafted, but whatever team that
Ned Flanders,
Matt Landers, Matt Landers out of
Receiver? Arkansas.
The receiver. He
Okay.
he's unpolished. He has a lot of work to improve on. I mean, like, but man, if this guy, if he goes to a white team and that can work, he's not a day one starter. He's gonna need. He might even be like a practice squad guy. But right now, man, Matt Landers. Oh man, that'll be a steal. Because what he can produce maybe one day, we'll see. But right now, like Taj, I don't know if you had anything to say about this football topic, but I know we have some other topics to get here, and we're probably going to be wrapping it up in about 20 minutes, gang.
Yeah, on to the football topic, about the Giants. I would rather them go with Lou Wiper in like the second round than them getting
Wiper?
You mean Luke Weipler?
Yeah, Luke Wiper from Ohio State, right? Yeah.
His name is Wiper?
Yes.
Yeah, Luke Weipler. Yeah. Weipler, yeah.
man, boobs.
I'd rather I'd rather them get Luke Wiper in the second round than get John Michael Smith in the first round, because I honestly think like me personally, I honestly think that that Luke Wiper is better than John Michael Smith, and I think he will be better than him. Like when it's all said and done, like when it by the time when he gets fully developed, I think he will be better than John Michael Smith. And not to say that John Michael Smith will be terrible. I think he'll be a pretty solid center, but I think he just has like a higher floor than Luke Wiper does, and Wiper has a higher ceiling than John Michael Smith.
And you have time to develop a guy.
Yes.
If you're the Giants right now, to sit down, and because like to me, if you're at 25 and your first round pick is a center, I wanted to plug and play right now. I don't have John Feliciano on this roster to have him sit down and wait for him to be the starting center. You know what I mean? Like there's factors like that. Now I'm not discrediting you. This is the reason why I probably pick Schmidt over your guy, Wiper, because I would just think
play now.
I mean, in my opinion, I think he could be a day one starter too. In my opinion, I think he can be.
Well, I'm just saying. If you're saying
he's basically saying he thinks that Weipler has a higher ceiling than Smith's, even though Smith's probably the higher graded. He's the higher graded center right now.
Now John Michael Smith could be drafted. He could be drafted first. I think
what
he
I'm
could
saying,
be drafted first.
What he's saying, right? But he's saying develop. He could be a good center. I'm saying right now, the guy that I know that I can plug and play that has more experience that I feel more strongly about is probably Schmidt, where I can just say, okay, kid, you're our first round pick. You're going to be starting from here on out. You and Daniel get to it, right? When another guy comes in like that, I can now you can do that with another center, but the Giants have no true centers in the roster. So I'm not going to put anybody in this kid's way. I'm going to make him the true center and make the other guys who are, the Bredesons and the Lemieux, those are the backup centers, the guys who can take the backup snaps. I do not want to see Lemieux as the center. So if I have to choose a guy like Lindenbaum last year, right? Lindenbaum came in and he's an automatic.
I just want to see Lemieux on the field, period.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point, Mac.
Just be on the field, period.
Yeah, he stubs his toe next week.
Yeah. He's on a Sterling Shepard rate right
Well,
now. Actually,
he must have done something. He must have done something. They let Nick Gates walk, which I thought was one of the moves that did not make me happy with the Joe Shane era, because you can't turn down that money to Washington. But let's be real. Nick Gates was so much of a utility player in that offensive line that I would have done anything to keep him and just say, screw you, Feliciano. I'd rather keep Nick Gates, who played center, who can play right tackle, who can go in at guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have John Feliciano flexing for nobody.
Yeah.
He's flexing for his man boobs.
Idiot. Dumbass Feliciano.
Man.
You could if you want to blame anybody for your 11-6 season not happening, Lou, you could thank that dumbass.
I said it in my video. I said dumbass Feliciano flexing cost us a fucking tie. And after that, we rested our players against Philly. And that was the game we actually could have beat Philly. And it just
yeah. Now he's over in San Francisco flexing his man boobs over there. So
man boobs
in the correct city to do that in.
Exactly.
BPA man boobs bisphenol A. It's in your plastic bottles. That's why when you go buy water bottles, make sure it's BPA free, because your body registers it as estrogen. That's
otherwise you have titties.
Yeah.
Little education.
All this time I thought I was drinking
old bag
Poland
tits.
Spring.
I have
Meanwhile, I've been drinking man tits.
No, you've been drinking
That's awesome.
estrogen.
It's like what the Nutty Professor used to say, old bag with old bad tits.
He said that dirty water.
Well, thankfully, I'm not drinking Poland Spring, so update, no man tits on this end. Thank you.
I love it. Let's get it, Mac. I think Mac had a couple of more topics to get to.
Like, I don't know where this is going. I'm not.
I mean, at this point, we just finish out. Keep talking about football for a few more minutes.
I didn't want to cut the real fast. I didn't want to transition.
Could get into the baseball stuff too.
Yeah,
baseball season is coming up.
Absolutely, we can get into that, but I didn't want to transition real fast. I didn't want to just talk about a few things that happened last night. UFC Fight Night, Vera versus Sanhagen. Great performance. We got Cody Sanhagen beating Marlon Vera, an unanimous decision, but he basically dominated that whole fight. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, Mac, but if you did, please tune in. Lou, I don't know if you got a chance to watch this as well, but Corey Sanhagen been looking like a top
last night.
Got you. Corey Sanhagen, man, he's looking like a top contender in the division right now, in the bantamweight division. Now we got a huge title fight coming up soon with Aljamain Sterling and homie Cejudo. We got Sean O'Malley next in line there. So we'll see how much this moves Corey Sanhagen up in the rankings. He was the 9th coming in, and he just beat the number 3 in the world. So we'll see where that goes. And then in the co-main event, we had Holly Holmes beat Yana Santos. Now Yana Santos was a up-and-comer that had a slow rise to the UFC, but I finally got it together over the past couple of fights. But what we just seen last night was another side of Holly Holmes. She had reunited with Coach Jackson and what they've been doing there at the gym. I mean, like, it is just so great to see Holly Holmes come out, and the performance that she had. She did win up a decision, but it was full dominance. She ended with 4 takedowns. Now, keep in mind, Holly Holmes is known as a kickboxer. She came into the sport of kickboxing. She's most known for the first one to ever defeat Ronda Rousey with a head kick. She's mostly a kickboxer, but she went out there and she grappled the whole time. She took him down. She took her down, and she opposed her will on her opponent, and she came out with an awesome victory. So that is your little fight night preview. Next week, I believe we have Max Holloway, really big fan, one of my favorite fighters. So Max Holloway's fighting, and we'll get you guys tuned in on that. And then obviously WrestleMania, don't miss out for that Friday edition of Premium.
We had also some good boxing matches pay-per-view last night, which I called on Leather to the Face. David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant, where he beat the living
Ooh,
shit out of
Panic was
Caleb
fighting.
Plant for like 7 rounds.
Damn.
It was beautiful to watch. At the end of the fight, his face was clean, like he had not been in a fight. Caleb Plant looked like he had been jumped.
Jeez.
Crowley also beat Ramos, and my man from Brooklyn beat the other guy. I can't remember his name, but yeah. So we got Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, April 22nd on Leather to the Face. Canelo
It's
Alvarez,
the biggest fight
May
right
6th,
there.
May 6th, Canelo Alvarez fights. And Vasily Lomachenko versus Devin Haney on May 20th on Leather to the Face. So got some big
Absolutely.
matches coming up. And Terrence Bud Crawford fights this week coming up. So
And I'm inviting myself to Leather to the Face right now. You can catch me, Zion Zenith, on Leather to the Face, calling that Tank fight. I would love to do a breakdown with Lou because I know Garcia is probably the hardest opponent he has to date, and I can say the same thing. Tank, obviously Garcia, dude knows more about boxing, but obviously Garcia has been he's up and coming, he's young, but I think this is a matchup that the boxing world has kind of been waiting to see. Is that fair to say in their weight class in a sense? And I'm excited for that one. So let's get that going.
we more so wanted to see Devin Haney versus Tank, but I mean, I'll watch Tank.
We'll settle for Garcia.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll watch Tank put Garcia to sleep.
Let's get it. I love it. I'm going for Tank as well. Let's turn it over to Jeff and Mac. They're gonna cover baseball real fast.
Well, I mean, with the Mets, obviously the biggest story with the Mets is the Edwin Diaz fallout. That's still, I still don't know how that happened, how he was able to blow out his knees celebrating, and the fact that we lost him for the entire season, and now the team is still trying to go by closer by committee. You got Adam Ottavino, you got Brooks Raley, left-handed pitcher they traded for with the Rays, and you got obviously David Robertson, a former Yankee. That's going to be, closer by committee right now. But with Steve Cohen, don't be shocked if this team goes out there and tries to trade for a big-time closer to, bring some stability to the back end of that rotation or the back end of the bullpen. Obviously, we heard the bad news about Jose Quintana. He's going to be out for the first few months of the season due to having a lesion that was found, unfortunately, in his rib that he underwent surgery for. So he's going to be out until at least July or August. And it's really going to come down to what are you going to get from this lineup? Is this lineup going to be able to, stay healthy? Because they got lucky with Brandon Nimmo. Thank God he's going to be ready for the beginning of the season. Are these guys going to stay healthy, and they're going to be able to produce a little bit more offensive production compared to what they did this past season? Because one of the things that hurt the Mets was their inability to hit home runs besides Alonso. So, I mean, is Darren Ruff or is Daniel Vogelback, are they going to get anything from the catching position? I'm sure you heard about it, Mac. They sent down their top prospects, Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos. All of them were sent down to AAA this past couple today. So the Mets are going to be going with, Tomas Nido and Omar Narvaez at the catching position to start the season. But a lot of it is going to hinge on the health of Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Those two guys have got to stay healthy, and they've got to be the pitchers that they have been the past few seasons. Obviously, Verlander having a phenomenal season last year and helping the Astros win another World Series. And Scherzer was great at the beginning of the season. Then he had that lat injury, which pretty much cost him about 2 or 3 months. And then he came back and he faltered towards the end of the season, including a horrendous start against the Braves, where he pretty much spit it up. And then against the Padres, he was equally as bad, if not worse. So the Mets season is going to hinge a lot on health. It's going to hinge a lot on that offense being able to produce a lot more runs compared to what they did last year. Steve Cohen will probably add another addition to this team. You obviously got to see what these young guys are going to be able to do coming up from the minor leagues, see if they can contribute at all. If we struggle at the DH position, if Eduardo Escobar isn't getting the job done at third base. And, of course, the bullpen is got to be able to pitch like they did in the second half of the season. I like Raley. He's a good left-handed pitcher from that side. Obviously, Robertson is solid. I mean, Adam knows how good Robertson was for the Yankees for years. So, I mean, that's what the Mets are going to be counting on. And this kid, Kodai Senga, is he going to be able to produce a lot for the Mets coming into the season, too? He struggled a little bit in spring training. But I think once he gets adjusted to the major leagues, I think he's going to be a solid pitcher in that rotation. And then Cookie Carrasco's a decent guy too. But it's going to be about how that bullpen is going to perform. If that offense can be able to produce a lot more home runs and get more runs a game during the season, and how is Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, are they going to stay healthy, and are they going to be able to be the guys that they've been pretty much their entire career? And then the Yankees, I'll say quickly with the Yankees, it's a lot. Their pitching staff is an absolute disaster right now. I mean, Severino is now on the injured list. Rodon's on the injured list. Obviously, Montas has been a disastrous trade for them. He's now out for probably like most of the season. They did bring up Anthony Volpe, which I like. That young 21-year-old shortstop who looks like he's going to start the season. I like the fact that they did that. Judge obviously signs the big deal. Bader is though out for the beginning of the season. So the Yankees, it's about piecing together that starting rotation to be good enough until you get your guys back. And hopefully that lineup is going to be able to produce more, including guys like Donaldson, Hicks, Kiner Falefa, and then obviously Trevino at catcher. So, I mean, and the bullpen has got to be better too. But I think with the Yankees, it's a lot about the offense, and it's about that starting pitching just holding up enough until you get your reinforcements back. You guys go ahead.
I mean, you said a lot, Jeff. I agree with most of everything you said. Basically, referring to the Mets, man, it's just gonna come down to that offense now. It's got to step it up, man. Got to get some runs on the board. You can't depend on Diaz coming out there in a close game and closing it out and getting those 3 crucial outs for you no more. That's not gonna happen this season, you know. So that's just a big loss, big hit to the bullpen. Right from the door, man. It's just already giving the Mets that adversity that they already have to overcome going into the season. I mean, I don't get it. It's weird
luck,
too. Every
man.
time I look at the tape, of it, like you close out the game, win the big game from Puerto Rico in the Classic, and then next thing you know, you just celebrating, and just like that, you just completely like blow out.
Well,
It's
didn't
just
Martin
unbelievable, man. It
Grammatica's
only can
kicker
happen.
Phil Grammatica.
Phil Grammatica, yeah. He was doing that against the Giants. He celebrated a random kickoff and blew out his knee. You know, so freaky things happen. But you know, the weird part is freaky things happen always to the Mets. It always happens to the Mets.
You're not wrong.
On paper, you have a good team going in, and some catastrophe happens. It just seems, and I don't want to be that guy that poo-poos on the Mets. I don't. But it just seems to me every time a big thing happens with the Mets, they're getting prosperity, something just, you know, someone hits the voodoo doll and sticks the pin in the voodoo doll, and the whole team goes crazy, you know, and you know, whether it's a controversy with the owners or, you know, just being in the doldrums or having their star players be injured for long periods of time, David Wright, you know what I mean? Like it's just been a cluster, you know, and the one time they finally get prosper, they get a good manager in Buck Showalter, they have a good team that they field out that the fan base can get behind, and this is what happens. And I'm not saying, some people say get rid of the World Baseball Classic. I think that's a thing that you should be proud to play. If you have the ability to play for your country in baseball and you want to do that, well, by all means do it. I mean, because, you know, it's not a violent sport. That's a freak injury that happened. And I've seen guys do that on a home run. You know, they're doing a home run. The team comes out and celebrates. Guy jumps on home plate and blows out breaks his ankle. You know,
Kendrys Morales.
Right. I mean, come on. I mean, we see it all the time happen. So it's just unfortunate that it happens to the Mets. You know what I mean? Because every time you want to have you know, like I was talking to my relative today, I said, man, I feel bad for you. He's like, yeah, I know. I said, you know, your team, you can't even get excited for them to even, it's not like they played a game together yet. You know, the guy blew out his knee throwing something or
your team is in worse shape than we are right now, Adam. Your team is losing a player, it seems like every single day.
Well, but the Yankees, but see, the thing about the Yankees that are different is somehow they find a way to keep it rolling, right? And as long as the Yankees, which is under Aaron Boone, have been more, I would say, heavy batted, meaning they like to score runs, but they don't necessarily manufacture runs very well. If you can keep hitting home runs, you can be that team that carries your lineup. You know what I mean? Like a team like the Warriors, they can carry their guys because they have guys that are home run hitters, right? And they can produce. And so those guys that are in a slump, it's different than the Mets, who rely on The Mets rely on sheer baseball, stealing bases, optimizing your opportunities, getting double plays, playing sound baseball is what Buck Showalter preaches. The Yankees are, let's hit home runs all day, every day. And that's been their MO for the last 3 seasons. And it's killed them in the playoffs because the lack of pitching, and then their offense goes cold because the bats go cold.
Good point. Great point.
Absolutely. I think we're hitting that 2:30 mark. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover before we turn it back over to Mac to do our outro?
I just want to say real quickly, make sure we appreciate all you guys coming by here for the Premium Take Show, and make sure you guys tune in on Friday for a special WrestleMania 39 preview show at 10:15.
We talk about WrestleMania for a reason tonight, folks.
We're talking all wrestling. It's going to be a full-on WrestleMania show. So we'll be talking about every match, previewing the matches, who we think we're going to win, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you guys tune into that 10:15 on Friday with the full Horsemen, and we'll be giving you wall-to-wall WrestleMania 39 coverage.
Special.
Let's get it.
Absolutely.
Getting Premium takes 5 days from each other. That's like a good meal, right? That's like having your comfort food twice this week. Okay, folks? Having your comfort food twice, your cheat day twice. You got us twice this week.
That's right.
I'm eating some comfort food right now.
Thank you all for tuning in as usual. Thank you all for coming out, tuning in. Do definitely appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys for letting me on.
Sports with these guys, the Horsemen.
You're welcome, Lou.
Yes.
Absolutely,
And man
Lou.
boobs is the word of the day.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes.
It's just the word of
Thank
the
you
day.
again.
I love it.
Make sure y'all please make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. All these great content creators up here, man. Got my guy Zion, NYG Jeffy T85, Adam Costas.
Get Adam to 100 subscribers, damn it.
Nation Sports.
Comfort food equals
Do that
man
for
boobs.
sure. Definitely hit that.
Comfort food
So
can
make
give
sure
you
y'all
man boobs. You're not
subscribe.
careful.
Hardcore Sports.
Let's get it.
Zion,
We
stop
definitely will
bullshitting,
see y'all
bro.
Friday night. We'll definitely see y'all Friday night for the special edition WrestleMania 39 special preview show edition of Premium Takes coming at y'all Friday night, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's up, Lou?
This is the Premium
Next weekend.
Takes podcast. WrestleMania is next Saturday and Sunday.
2 days again?
Yep.
So,
All right, Mac, take us home.
so make sure, yeah, definitely make sure. Once again, thank you, everybody. Everybody in the chat, thank you again. This has the Premium Takes podcast.